dong. Merrily I am high, because I am Gary YouTube, and it is Christmas. Almost Merry Christmas, everybody. Get your flashy jumpers on, especially the ones from WWE Shop.com.
I got the Undertaker one, and I've got to say I'm fairly disappointed in it.
Honestly,
I'm not gonna
Sam,
lie.
I thought this one came from Wish. Just looking at the material,
Genuinely,
how cheap it feels, it's horrible.
It's goalkeeper, like school goalkeeper top material, like a £5 Donne job. Like, it's awful.
It's a fantastic thing that we have a company credit card. But we are here once again to do a tier ranking malarkey, this time for the 2020 SmackDown roster post-2020 WWE draft. We'll be ranking these people, these lads and lasses, on how their 2020 has been as a whole, both in terms of what they've done inside the kayfabe and just genuinely how they've made us feel as fans, Sam. You know what I mean? You know
Yeah. Just a little bit of a rank about, you know, everybody and what they're doing and that.
Yeah. And just to date this one, just in case anything we speak about is out of date, we are getting the Christmas content ready for Cultaholic Wrestling over the Christmas period. It is December the 9th, and it is the 11th anniversary of me passing my driving test.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Come on, everybody at home, join in. Send him a tweet. Congratulate him.
And just in case you are keeping score at home, we have, of course, already done the Raw roster. We will be doing the AEW and NXT rosters after this one, so we can see how many are in the best tier on each one and decide who has the best roster. Compare and contrast, Sam.
To be honest, I'm just glad you're here doing this with me, because my brain is like a sieve. Like, genuinely, I can retain random crap information, but you're going to be just bringing stuff up and I'll be like, oh, yeah! And, yeah, it's going to just be a lot of that. So
The drugs, they take their toll, Sam. The drugs, they take their toll.
They do. I've really got to stop with the crack.
And just in case we do miss somebody, miss your favourite superstar off the roster, blame Wikipedia. We go to Wikipedia because WWE.com, I find this in this line of work, they are awful at keeping their own roster page up to date. So we're on Wikipedia because, quite frankly, they are better, and it is the best source of information in the world, as we know. But Sam, you do the intro, don't you? So play it now.
Hit me, yeah!
So just in case you haven't been here before, we are here to put the SmackDown roster into the following set of tiers. We have the best, lovely, all right, just about bearable, and get in the bin. I think there might be a few bin-worthy lads and lasses on this roster, Sam.
Yeah, SmackDown's got quite a lot of inconsequential booking, and because of that, quite a lot of inconsequential characters and character work. So, yeah, I think there's at least a few, I think, that are prime ready for the bin.
Trash. Human trash. But we're kicking things off with somebody who definitely is not human trash. We're kicking things off with Mr. Alastair Black, who, of course, started the year in the Royal Rumble, but he was eliminated by Seth Rollins. Then he was attacked by the OC on Raw. He's involved in big singles matches with AJ Styles. He'd actually defeated AJ Styles at Elimination Chamber via DQ, but that was thanks to The Undertaker, who was in the midst of setting up the Boneyard match at WrestleMania 36. He defeated Bobby Lashley in a really inconsequential match at WrestleMania that did not belong on the WrestleMania card one bit. And there was even rumour, Sam, I found in my research for this tier ranking malarkey, and I think I spoke about in a news video not too long ago, that Paul Heyman had Alastair Black in the conversation to defeat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 36, because of course Heyman was the executive director of Monday Night Raw, and Alastair Black, it was in there with Drew McIntyre in the mixer as one of the names who could potentially beat Brock Lesnar. How weird is that to say?
I mean, you can see it as well. You can see how it would work, and you can see the build, and you can see him standing tall over Brock's body, but they don't know what to do with him. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, he's massive and cool and has tattoos, and he can kick you real hard, and he's a bit evil. And instead we had a whole phase of him, you know, I mean, Christ, look back to him waiting for somebody to knock on his door.
Like a teenager, a moody
He's going to sit in his room and listen to Marilyn Manson and have a cry.
But after WrestleMania, the year just sort of petered out into nothing, and I guess that sort of coincides with Paul Heyman losing his role as the executive director of Monday Night Raw. Alastair Black failed to win Money in the Bank. Then we had the Rollins feud where he was sort of blinded, but not blinded completely. He came back wearing a badass patch, which I think is a fantastic aesthetic. I love that patch, me. Yeah. It looks badass and gnarly. It suits the darkness of Alastair Black.
Eye patches are class, and it completely like sort of goes with and suits his character, but again, it always seems that they're like, oh God, Alastair Black, and they remember that they've got him, and they're like, yeah, we got this thing, we're gonna, and then it's like, oh, a new shiny toy, and they just put him at the wayside.
Yeah, but he was, of course, sort of helping Ronald Mysterio, Mr. Rey Mysterio himself, in fighting Seth Rollins at the time. But the injury to his eye then signified a heel turn, and then we had a couple of matches with Kevin Owens on Raw, and then everything stopped. Alistair was drafted to SmackDown, where he finds himself today, and he's doing sweet FA, Sam. Sweet FA.
Yeah, it's just I've not had to grade him or talk about him at all, to the point where I'd pretty much forgot that he'd been drafted across. Like it just doesn't make any sense in my head. Like, he should be such a big deal. He's potentially another character wrestler up there, not quite as wacky and out there as The Fiend, but maybe more like a Ministry Taker level of like evil, darkness, and all that stuff. And we just sort of have him come on TV for a bit, go away, come back for a bit, get into a feud, go away, pay-per-view spot, go away.
I'm saying bearable.
Is he injured?
There's something good. Of course, I guess we've got to put an asterisk next to this one, especially for his time on SmackDown, because of course they'll deny it. Of course they will, but the Zelina Vega situation has got to have played a part.
WWE.
I know.
Petty.
I'm guessing here. I'm not saying this with any sort of fact behind it, but WWE have a track record of being quite petty. And of course, Alastair Black is married to Zelina Vega. You don't need to explain what happened there. But as a year, in terms of highlights, the eye patch, the new theme. I quite like the new theme. It's not as good as the old theme, but the new theme's all right. But in terms of wrestling,
I think you're right. I think it's bearable.
Bearable at best. So when I say street profits to you, Sam, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking of the current sort of tear they're going on SmackDown, just building a bigger and bigger name for themselves, putting on some of the best matches of the night whenever they appear, like putting on some great promos, even boring back and forth stuff with like Cesaro and Nakamura in the little sort of Champions Lounge type thing when they sort of took it over and everything. Like, even that stuff, they just maximize every little bit of TV time they've had. And I think it's great that they're currently tag champs.
Angelo Dawkins. I said Alastair Black there. Angelo Dawkins. Should he be a heel? Because I think he should. I think he's the most annoying man. When he comes on, Sam, every week and he starts going, yeah! I'm thinking if you were a heel, that would fit your heel shtick quite wonderfully.
He just turns into a foghorn.
And then he was there taking the piss out of Bobby Roode's wonderfully dense beard while he stood there, Sam, with a gappy thing on his cheek.
Yeah.
Like a slice of Swiss cheese, I compared it to. So Angelo Dawkins could be a heel. Montez Ford, absolutely fantastic. We know that.
Yeah.
Arguably the most charismatic superstar in WWE today. For my money, the best frog splash of all time.
Yeah, the height, man. The height.
And that's only because the height was already there, but he's also added in recent times the RVD sort of flip after the impact. And that's taken it to new levels.
Yeah, he's just, I think if there's anybody who's ready-made to be a breakout star somewhere down the line, it's Montez Ford.
Yeah.
For sure. It has to be.
But we're looking at there, in the ring, they lost the Raw Tag Team titles to Rollins and Murphy at Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. Then, of course, they had a rematch on Raw, which for some reason was a last chance final. You'll never get another tag team title shot ever again, so you better bloody win. We sort of give the game away, but we got the crowd. Maybe that was the biggest pop of the year. I've got no idea. It feels like one of the biggest pops of the year. That Raw crowd went radio rental.
Yeah, I mean, there haven't been many pops this year.
No. They then retained the titles against Murphy and Rollins at Elimination Chamber. They defeated Angel Garza and
Austin Theory
at WrestleMania. Then we had the feud with the Viking Raiders with the basketballs and the axe throwing and the golf and the bowling and the decathlon. And then it ended in a bin, in a dumpster, which was quite fitting because while the idea, it was good on paper. I think I said this with Adam on the Raw tier video speaking about the Viking Raiders. In the Performance Center especially, everything felt the same because there was no crowd at the time. There was the same stationary sort of camera shot for the hard cam. They were limited in what they could do, so we're going to take one feud outside the Performance Centre and try something different. I like the idea, but it was a shame about the execution.
That's it. Yeah, it was a good idea, but ultimately it sort of stepped over that boundary into, it was always going to be a bit cheesy, but it sort of stepped over that line into just absolute, full bore cheese. It was not my jam, but I see why they did it, and you've got to commend them for trying to do it, and you've got to commend the talents for sticking with it, because Jesus, that must have been mental. But yeah, it just didn't work.
Yeah, certain bits were quite funny, but other bits just died a horrible death. And then coming out with that, they had another feud with Garza and Andrade, beat them at SummerSlam and at Clash of Champions. Then we move on to the New Day on SmackDown and what's happened there. We all saw that over the past last little while heading into Survivor Series, and that fantastic match at Survivor Series itself. So lovely, 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 at least I reckon.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, they're going to be up there in lovely, lovely, lovely for sure. I wouldn't quite put them at best yet. They're getting there, but not quite yet.
And then we're moving on to Apollo Crews, who, if you were stood here at the start of 2020 and predicted his year, he has had a way better year than you could have possibly predicted, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, he's always capable of just bringing it in the ring, and he's always entertaining to watch. The problem just seemed to be that they didn't really know what to do with him outside of those confines. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. They always take such a risk with bringing up talent when they don't really have anything solid for them. But hopefully this is going to turn around soon.
So after doing, sorry, I'm knackered here today. So after doing absolutely nothing for a very long time indeed, he was sort of drafted to Monday Night Raw on the fly and announced his arrival to Monday Night Raw with a match against Alastair Black that lasted 27 minutes, and he won.
Yeah.
A new slice of aggression, because the thing with Apollo Crews, you've got to admire all the flips and all that stuff, but in terms of a character, there was never anything there to really get invested in. But now he rocked up on Monday Night Raw and he was showing all kinds of new aggression. I was thinking, go on, Apollo, you can do it. Go on, kick him harder,
It's just, I think the way he was booked when he first came up and everything, he just seemed like a really good underdog character. That I think, if they framed it correctly, they could get people behind him. And hopefully this is, as you said, we've had little glimmers of that. So hopefully we can parlay that into something much better. And
you're speaking about sympathy there, Sam. We had the kayfabe injury, which sort of ruled him out of Money in the Bank, which was done to garner more sympathy and create more empathy towards Apollo Crews. He won the US title from Andrade on Raw, but then and he beat him at Backlash as well. Then we had the feud with MVP, which ushered in the brand new design for the US Championship, with MVP saying, I've got the real US title, this brand new lovely one here. Yours is out of date now, Apollo Crews, you horrible man. He missed the horror show at Extreme Rules due to COVID, of course, and that's when MVP declared himself as the real US champion. He then defeated MVP at SummerSlam to take the brand new title as his own. He then lost the title at Payback to Lashley, and then that's sort of it. He failed to get it back at Clash of Champions, and then he was drafted to SmackDown, and he's done nothing over the past month or so. It
was sort of like a nice little experiment, but now that he's with SmackDown's been weird since the draft anyway, because we usually on SmackDown, we'd have one big storyline running through it, because it's only 2 hours. So you'd have your main event storyline, like your Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and then everything else would be pretty inconsequential and just pay-per-view setup. But since we had the draft, we had that and the Mysterio storyline running parallel, which was just bullying everything else in the show into like smaller and smaller gaps. And I think a lot of people are just getting lost along the way. And hopefully Apollo isn't one of these people, but
I still think, because while the wrestling was fantastic, as it always is, I say, with Apollo Crews, it's just that thing, that charisma that gets you really caring about what he's doing.
Yeah.
It was there a little bit more than it has been with the new aggression and what he was doing, and obviously the angle he did with Money in the Bank. But there's still something missing for me. It still needs something else, I reckon.
Yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, like is he ready for the IC scene? Because that's logically the next step following the US title, and maybe that needs to be cleared up just a little bit more. Maybe we've got to give Sami Zayn a bit of a wide berth and let him. But then again, he wrestled Sami recently, so he's in and around the IC scene right now. So, who knows what the new year's going to bring.
All right.
I'd like to stick him in lovely, 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 but, as you've said, it's not quite there. So I think All Right's the best place for him. If he's going to be in All Right, though, he's going to be near the top for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He's had a very decent year indeed.
Yeah.
And then we're moving on to, I'm just going to say what I've got written down here, Sam, and I want you to tell me who I'm speaking about. Screwed out of WrestleMania when all the lasses ganged up on her and bullied her in the match. Screwed out of the SmackDown Women's title by Sasha Banks at Money in the Bank. Screwed out of a rematch, even though she was cheated out of the SmackDown Women's Championship at Money in the Bank. And last but not least, she was screwed out of karaoke. Who am I speaking about, Sam?
Are you speaking about that there Lacey?
No. Are you joking?
Who was screwed at karaoke? It was Lacey that got screwed at karaoke, wasn't
Absolutely not, Sam Driver. It was Tamina.
Tamina?
I forget the amount.
Tamina? She nailed it. She did the game.
No,
she did the game.
I tell you what happened, Sam. She picked a song with a really long intro, and before she could even say much of a word, or barely even a sentence maybe, she was told to stop. Even though, I think it was one of the Usos, wasn't it, who was emceeing this karaoke? They were like, you've got this set amount of, I think it might be in 40 seconds, I might be wrong there. You've got this set amount of time. Everyone's going to get the same amount of time. Do what you can in that period of time. I think she got 18
time
seconds.
to play the game out. I think that's... Because she's like,
cut off. Terrible. Screwed out of everything so far this year. It leaves a very sour taste in my mouth because, of course, Tamina is the conductor of the Tamina train. A lovely woman. But where are we going for Tamina?
Well, this is another byproduct of the draft, real quick. Was obviously with that, as I was saying, with the two major storylines just jostling everything down. There's been so many times where Tamina just doesn't get an entrance, or Natty just doesn't get an entrance, or like she'll just be very quickly disposed of at the start of a match and just not come back. And for somebody who's given that much time to the company, fair play. She's not, Sasha Banks or whatever, but come on.
And the worst thing is, Sam, she tried to reinvent herself by giving herself a new gimmick. I don't know if you saw the video that she put out on her own Twitter that was quickly deleted soon after she put it live. So she was in some sort of, I think it was like some sort of padded room, and she was like doing that sort of shtick. But she was obviously told to delete this thing that she created off her own back by herself.
That's a shame.
And she was doing all these fantastic promos in her own spare time, and it was just like heartbreaking. Why weren't they on TV? I think one of them got used on a kickoff show for a pay-per-view, but that was about it for Tamina.
I think the women's division could totally do with some more characters on the SmackDown side, and something like that, like an unhinged Tamina, like almost Braun Strowman-esque, just sort of trashing everything and just dead set on one goal would be great, because nobody's going to buy that Tamina's that strong, but she could just go do it. She could just crack on. She's just had an appalling showing, and it's not her fault, and this is the worst part.
It's the booking, Sam. It's going to break my heart, this.
We got to put her in the bin.
Because there's only one place to put her.
Sorry, Tamina.
Not to bastardise these tier rankings thing, because if it was up to me, Tamina, I know you're watching, of course, I would put you straight in the best. Because, as I've listed there, shafted so many times this year in the storytelling, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yeah. I get it if it was The Miz or somebody like that, but this is Tamina. But she started a movement within the WWE Universe, Sam.
They could treat her in an almost final boss manner if they booked her right. She's like big and powerful. Like, you're missing something like that in SmackDown. Why don't we? No, right. Let's just crack on.
Big E, Sam. Big E
had a hell of a year so far. Mm-hmm. I mean, nobody really wanted to see the New Day be split up, but I mean, come on. The brawl with Sheamus, like everything, they're getting dropped into the windshield, the proper match they did in the parking lot, and like everything like that. I was sort of unsure as to how. I knew that it would kind of work, a Big E solo run, but I didn't know how the hell they were going to build to it. And then when they started throwing him into more and more scenarios like that, I was like, okay. And now it's just led to this massive push toward Big E essentially getting the title.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird year. A bit of a weird year for New Day as a whole, because obviously Xavier Woods has spent much of the year out injured. Kofi Kingston got a big back injury when he was put through the tables by Cesaro. What?
And Big E's not in New Day anymore because Michael Cole said so.
I can't believe he said that. We're sat here obviously on December the 9th. So the SmackDown before December the 9th, Michael Cole said that. That direct quote, Sam. Yeah. Of course they're on different brands, Michael Cole, but the New Day will never die. You arsehole.
No, never. I just going to let you know here, I don't know if this is making noise. It doesn't seem to be. But I keep getting a little pop-up in the corner that's going, you need to update some updates. So
it's not being a single noise, Sam.
If that's good, because I was going to say, if people at home can just hear like, beedaloo-bee, then it's going to get really annoying.
No, but we'll go for Big E's highlights for this year. Of course, he lost the SmackDown tag titles alongside Kofi Kingston and Super Showdown to Miz and Morrison. He then won the SmackDown titles for the New Day in a singles triple threat match. Of course, we had the other halves of those three tag teams in a triple threat match. Miz and Morrison, Usos and New Day at WrestleMania. Potentially stole the show in my eyes. Then we had a rematch on SmackDown where Big E regained the tag team titles for the New Day. They then lost the tag team titles to Cesaro and Nakamura in that tables match where Kofi's back got effed up with that table spot off the turnbuckle. Horrible stuff.
Yeah.
And then with Kingston out injured and Woods out injured, Big E goes off on the singles run. The stuff with Sheamus, the car you've spoken about there. They had a match of Payback, which Big E won, of course. Falls Count Anywhere match, I think that's where the car thing happened, wasn't it? The Falls Count Anywhere match?
I think so,
And then Big E has the role's been reduced over the past few weeks. He's sort of in SmackDown a lot less often.
Yeah, but they've given him a solo theme now. He was obviously last week. Obviously, it's a very different week because it was the Pat Patterson Memorial match that he was a part of. So I guess booking was sort of just on hold. The only real story that was going on in that was Zayn and Bryan. But yeah, I'd like to think that we're going to sort of start building towards something for the new year for him because, Rumble and Mania are rapidly approaching. Big E winning the Rumble would be... Oh, could you imagine? Oh. Oh
dear. Oh. That would be lovely, that. Oh. But Big E, it's got to be lovely. But not as high as the Street Profits.
I think he's had a good year, but it's only really started to ramp up. And it's only really started to get to a point where it's like, ooh.
So that's the thing as well, watching New Day tag team matches. When they are fantastic, we're sort of just like, oh.
They're so good.
That's New Day. That's what they do. Yeah. Spoiled rotten by the New Day we have been over the last few years, haven't we? But now we move on to somebody who is officially listed as part of the SmackDown roster, Bo Dallas, who started the year by doing nothing. Then, of course, unfortunately, Curtis Axel was released from the company on that horrible evening back in April. His last match for the company was on Halloween 2019 at Crown Jewel, where the New Day defeated himself and Curtis Axel, and then apparently he's had some sort of personal issues going on in his personal life at home. So hopefully he comes back stronger than ever. Because
you forgot that he was Ember Moon.
He was Ember Moon.
Yeah, when Ember Moon returned, and everybody was like, "Oh, it could be Bo Dallas."
What? Oh, NXT.
Yeah.
Right. I never knew that was a thing.
Yeah. It was like just browsing certain online just Reddit and Twitter and stuff. People well, it could be Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas would be great. Go back NXT. Bo Dallas. This will be, and then everybody, you know how it just goes. So nobody starts to question the original. It could be Bo Dallas. Everybody's like, oh my god, it's gonna be Bo Dallas. And it was just like that.
I'll tell you what, maybe NXT Bo Dallas coming back from the dead and just being on NXT. Maybe that's the best way to go because he was absolutely fantastic back then. But this is he's done out this year, so do we go bin? Because by default?
Yeah, bin by default, but it's not like a reflection on his work or his character or his person or anything. It's just the fact that he's not done anything this year, so we can't really grade him for any work. So, in bin.
Yep. Sorry, Bo.
Sorry, Bo.
It's a mercy killing. It's a mercy binning, not killing. We haven't killed him. Cesaro, who
you just probably take them all out back after each tier video.
Cesaro, he defeated Braun Strowman in a 3-on-1 handicap match alongside Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura to win. Sami Zayn won the Intercontinental title because he was, of course, the man who got the pinfall. Does Zayn keep the title with that one? Have I got mixed up there?
I can't. These names are facing each other every week. So.
And then, of course, we move on to Nakamura, Zayn, and Cesaro, who we're speaking about here, of course, feuding with Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak, which then bled into WrestleMania, where Cesaro beat Drew Gulak on the WrestleMania 36 kickoff show. Sami Zayn beat Daniel Bryan on the main card. Sorry, what am I talking about here? What have I written down here? I've got written down here defeated Drew Gulak on the Mania pre-show, and then I've got lost to Jeff Hardy on the kickoff show at Money in the Bank. It's a different show, Ross. It's a different show. They're two different kickoff shows. He's the kickoff showstopper. The kickoff showstopper.
The kickoff showstopper. Yeah.
Like Ryback used to be back in the day just before he went away. And then, of course, we had the feud with the New Day for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. The stuff with Kofi Kingston was spoken about there. Extreme Rules, they won the Tag Team titles, of course, from the New Day. And then we get to October just about, because over the summer, I don't know if you can remember, but I can't remember them doing much.
What?
The Tag Team Champions on SmackDown. There was the Champions Lounge in the early autumn, I guess.
It all bled into like one big thing. So essentially, it started off really well. So you had obviously the situation you were describing with Zayn putting himself first, and then that ticking off Cesaro and Nakamura, and then there being that little bit of ructions between them, and then they turned their back on him. I thought that would have imploded the group, so that it would have been like all three going for each other or whatever. Or I was just banking on maybe Cesaro, just going and defeating Zayn, and that all ending. But instead, it just trickled on and trickled on and trickled on, and then we had the debut of the Street Profits, and it trickled on and it trickled on, and it's been so long like that these three have been in and around each other, and Cesaro has been putting on great matches, as you said, but there's like this mire in the middle of SmackDown with the tag division, and I don't know how they change it up or what they do, but it just seems that it's the same few teams, it's the same couple of matches, it's just everything but under a different name, and it does hamper the talent. Unfortunately, it's not their fault, but it does hamper them.
I think we need floating tag team champions in one division across two shows.
Yeah, but then it'll start the decline of the belts, and then it'll end the brand split, and then it'll get too convoluted, and then we'll have another brand split, and then it does, until they can work out a way to do all of this without there needing to be separate brands or a way to keep it fresh and uniform. It's always just going to expand and contract and expand and contract, and it's hard when there are so many gifted wrestlers, and then you've got Cesaro, who everybody just wants to have nice things, and the company's like,
Yeah. All right. Is that fair? It's down to the booking more than anything. Cause
I think genuinely that Nakamura is going to be company for him. So it's I think it's all right.
Yeah, it's that's down to the booking though. It's tag team wrestling. I don't know what it is with Vince McMahon about tag team wrestling in WWE, but he just doesn't give a toss, does he? He doesn't give a toss.
No, we sort of see the tag team division bolster, and then it gets gutted, and then it gets bigger, then it gets gutted, and now we're in sort of like a downsizing phase, but at the same time, we've still got Ziggler and Rude, Cesaro, Nakamura, Street Profits now, and it's just... And while the injection of the Street Profits here has led to some very exciting matches, it's just... And then there'll be a 6-man to close out the show, because why not?
Yeah.
Just that sort of stuff.
Natalya, Sam, who, by the way, aside from being really weird with her sister on YouTube, spent much of the year... Have you seen that stuff?
I've seen enough Total Divas to know that she's weird with her sister.
It's so strange. I saw one post on Reddit the other day, and it was...
They're just lovely weirdos, aren't they?
They're scantily clad, flogging the Christmas stocking stuffers. They're sucking on things. They're slapping each other's boobies.
And Natty's just like cracking ma'am tier jokes the entire time.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's a weird flex. But apart from that, she spent much of the air on Monday Night Raw, of course. She lost to Liv Morgan on the WrestleMania kickoff show. She then turned heel when she teamed with Morgan, but then turned on her after WrestleMania, claiming she got given no respect.
That's the classic Hart line, isn't it?
Did you know she's related to Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart?
I did not. I can't believe I missed that with the pink and the screeching guitar and everything.
And then we had a short feud with Shayna Baszler, where for some reason Natalya thought it was a good idea to challenge the Submission Magician to a submission match on Monday Night Raw.
Well, it does sort of work, Hart Family Dungeon, the most feared, shooty training school in wrestling. Like, if they built it properly and Natty hadn't have been suffering from years of just lackluster booking going into it, it could have been fantastic, because you'd have a genuine MMA fighter and a genuine, trained shooty wrestler. And the only problem there is that I don't know if Vince very much enjoys catch wrestling. So I imagine on paper he'd be like, this is great, we're going to do all this. And then see the first match and be like, where's all the excitement? And it's, yeah.
It's a shame Shayna wasn't around in like 2012 or something like 2011, 2010 when Natalya was fresh-ish, and sort of not hampered by years of losses.
Yeah.
I know she's the most winningest superstar in the female history of WWE, but it's weird to look at things.
It's almost
in
like a longevity thing now, isn't it?
I know she's obviously there because she is a fantastic professional wrestler and she's there to make the new lasses look good because she can, and that's what she's there for. But in terms of kayfabe, when on a very recent SmackDown she was tapping out Bayley, I did not know where to turn and who to speak to.
Yeah, but the last week's SmackDown, Bayley goes for the sharpshooter at like the 2-minute mark in the match. Natty gets the sharpshooter at like the 2-minute 30 mark of the match. Tap. Match done in under 3 minutes. And it's just... What are you doing?
I don't understand. It's Natalya. She's done. She's like Ziggler. She's just, as a character, she's done, in my opinion.
And like the thing is, they sort of teased something recently though with it, and it was like Adam Pearce, who's become the sort of the de facto. I don't want to say dog's body, but you know, he goes round and he does the bidding of the company, and it's like, well, we need to get a contract signed. Adam, can you go do it? And he'll be like, yeah, and he goes and sorts it. So he's not really an authority figure if you haven't been watching SmackDown. He's just sort of like a company guy, but. He had one choice for each of the men's and women's team for SmackDown for Survivor Series, and Natty had failed twice to get into the team, and he gave the spot to somebody else, and there was glimmers of Natty getting annoyed and it maybe being a little heel turn, and it just gone.
That's Natalya. But then we had a really short feud.
How much of it's Natty and how much of it's the book?
Well, that's Natalya's booking. I get it. It happens so often. She's just there, then she goes away, then she comes back, and then she loses the few, and then she wins one and loses some more. It's weird. But then we have a short feud with Mickie James, a short partnership with Lana, where they were social influencers or TikTok people or something like that. Then, of course, we had the 25 chances to qualify for Survivor Series, and now we get to her. As I say, we're sat here on December the 9th recording this, the SmackDown before. This week, she defeated Bayley clean with a sharpshooter, a clean tap out.
To help further Bayley and Bianca Belair's storyline. Nothing to do with her.
I swear to God, Bianca Belair had to have missed her cue to get involved in that match somehow. Because Pamela, I'd looked at this stat, she has lost 9 straight matches on the main roster. And you're thinking, probably, they're going to be building up Bianca Belair to defeat Bayley, because then obviously defeating Bayley, who held the SmackDown Women's title for 390 million days, whatever it was, that's an impressive thing. But Bayley is going to lose every single match between now and that match, to the point where it's not going to matter, because Bayley will have lost like 12 matches in a row.
But then we get to something where it's like, I don't know, it's just proper. Can you keep that booking going, and then have Bayley cheat or pull out, some sidekicks to help her retain without it getting worse, or like how?
We're here to speak about Natalya. Where's Natalya going?
I think, unfortunately, Natty's going to have to be in... I don't want to throw her in the bin.
I do.
But it's probably the bin, because I think she hasn't done anything to be even just about bearable. She just seems to be used like a tool. They just throw her in there, like, go get a win over Natty, go get a win over this person, go steamroll Tamina, and then you've got the 3 wins under your belt and you can face this person.
That's the thing, is she has a role now. She's a fantastic wrestler. She's there to make other people look good, and she does a good job at doing that. But in terms of what she's done to really captivate us fans, I don't think there's been anything there this year worth speaking about. So I reckon maybe we'll put bearable, because she's had some fair matches. I think
it was
bearable.
I think I'll throw, just for the bearable thing, I'll throw in the little back and forth with Pierce and the potential tease of something, which then evaporated, which shows that it's not just Natty.
Yeah. And then we're moving on to Chad Gable, who, of course, started this year as Shorty.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Shorty G. And he had a feud with Sheamus because Sheamus is a big man and Shorty G was a short man who was embracing his shortness.
He didn't just feud with Sheamus over that.
I know, we had we had everything. And, of course, we had the stuff with King Corbin, which coincided with a Shorty G heel turn because he wants all of that there money. King Corbin, of course, had a ransom on Riddle's head, and Shorty G That's a thing I do on WTF now. So.
Yeah, I cut the Raw one yesterday. I enjoyed the Danon throwback. Danon.
That's because he's got M on his gear, Sam. And what could that possibly mean? It can't
McDonald's.
mean Matt. And then, Shorty G wanted a slice of King Corbin's purse. That's not a euphemism before you start, you dirty bastards. And then, of course, he stopped calling himself Shorty G after a massive loss to Lars Sullivan. And now he's creating the Alpha Academy with a horribly fantastic logo. Have you seen this close-up, Sam?
I've seen the flyer. I haven't. I just saw that it was really generic and like red and white. And
there is a lovely detailed picture on Google Images where you will see that Shorty G's his entire leg, just pierces the back of the eagle's head where it just shouldn't do that. And then he's got the severed head, Sam, of Fandango under his arm.
Oh,
why?
Stunning.
It's fantastic.
Why not? Why not? The thing was about that turn. So the Shorty G thing, I guess, like. It started off with the best intentions. So he was getting called it, and then he embraced it. And it was like, you know what? Like, don't give power to bullies. Like, fair enough, I'm short, whatever. But you got to love yourself for who you are. And just because you're short or just because people bully doesn't mean you can't do what you want to do. Doesn't mean you can't do the things you love. Which, when you consider that wrestling is for kids, primarily with WWE, it's aimed at a younger audience. That's brilliant. Beautiful little message to send out there. But it just everything about it, the basketball gear, like none of it made sense. And then there was the feud with Sheamus, and it was because it was like, I'm big, you're short, and it was literally just that, like proper 80s style. And then we had the same thing with Corbin, and then I think there was just another one-off match with Sheamus before the draft. And we just went back to that. And then now he's Chad Gable again. And that promo where he was like, oh, like throwing that all away. I'm going to be Chad Gable again. Like Chad Gable's the only man that can, you know, push me forward and help me achieve my dreams. But like the Alpha Academy stuff's interesting, but I didn't think they were going to like just double down on the heel Gable straight away.
He's a fantastic heel, because if you go back to NXT in 2015, I say it all the time on this channel, but he gave Jason Jordan some charisma, some character. Yeah. Just the way he played off Jason Jordan. He's got that knack, that thing where certain professional wrestlers know the humour of professional wrestling. I think they need to let him express himself a bit more on SmackDown, and hopefully the Alpha Academy, with Otis being his first student, those two are good pals in real life, so hopefully that'll just be the start of some great things for Chad Gable on SmackDown.
It works quite nicely because he's being nefarious with Otis as well. Because obviously, what happened was, if you haven't been watching, Otis like he's down on his luck, but he finally gets a win back, and Chad Gable's like, "Yeah, that's the Otis you need to bring out every time, and I can help you bring that Otis out." And it's almost like a self-help fitness type, almost like Simon Dean, I guess, but not like a little bit more sinister. But Otis is like, "Yeah, this is cool," and it's all like happy, high five, and smiley. Otis walks off, and Gable's like.
Yeah, we just need to see more of it. We've just seen, it's been a few weeks, hasn't it, as we're sat here now, and nothing really's happened, but it's the bottom two tiers for me for Shorty G / Chad Gable, and hopefully that changes this time next year, because hopefully Alpha Academy becomes this thing that becomes a real focal point on SmackDown. Well, because he is funny, and he is a good wrestler. He's got everything.
I think he has to go unbearable simply because he stuck that Shorty G crap out, and he's now doing something that has the potential. You know, it could just completely be erased next week on SmackDown or whatever, but it has the potential to be something at least interesting. At the very least interesting. And Otis is a great character to play off the dynamic with those two. So, yeah, I think bearable.
Yeah, I think bearable. He's had a couple of stand-up performances. I think we had the pre-show Battle Royal at Survivor Series, and I'm sure there's more on top of that as well. But next up, we're going up to Daniel Bryan, who started the year, of course, in the same feud he ended 2019 with against Bray Wyatt. He lost a strap match to The Fiend at the Royal Rumble. Then he feuded with Drew Gulak for a short period of time. And then that feuding where Gulak was like, I can see some holes in your game, Daniel Bryan. Let's have a wrestle. That then turned into a partnership. And then the stuff we talked about earlier with the Intercontinental Championship match at WrestleMania. He lost that, of course. And then he lost in the finals of the Intercontinental title tournament over the summer to AJ Styles. He then had that big defeat, that big clean defeat to Jey Uso on SmackDown after a little time away from the ring, and now he's been sort of involved in the upper echelons of the card on SmackDown, getting involved with Roman Reigns and obviously Jey Uso once again and stuff like that. It's been a weird year for Daniel Bryan inside the ring, hasn't it, Sam?
Yeah, he's just done it all, kinda. It's
been good and it's been bad.
Yeah, he's had some standout moments. He's had some pretty forgettable, just one-off type deals. It's the thing is with him, it's Daniel Bryan, and he does maximize everything that he's given, and he often does it to the best of his ability. But the whole thing with the Fiend having his hair cut off and all of that stuff, and then building through the strap match was arguably a little bit.
I hate strap matches.
Yeah, I like them, but I think it's very rare that they're done in a way where you come out of it going, oh, that was really cool. Because often, or more often than not, it's the same 5-6 spots you'd see in every other strap match ever. Just postponing these updates again. There we go. What about you? What's your opinion of his 2020?
As you say, there's standout moments, and then there's a lot of nothingness. I don't know. I think, did he have a kid this year?
I believe he did. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe a long time away from the ring because of that. The haircut is a welcome upgrade. I think it looks fantastic with his haircut, which, by the way, is the same haircut The Miz had back in 2017 or something like that. So that feud is still very much alive, everybody.
Well, we got to thank Wyatt for that, don't we? Because he accidentally cut off too much hair under the ring, and it led to the head being shaved, which has given us new sexy Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, suave. But I think it's all right. I think, or is that too harsh? Because we did have a few matches. The stuff with Gulak I remember being a highlight, but just in the ring because I like wrestling, and they did wrestling well.
It started getting really good again though because of everything with Jey and Jey attacking him and then jumping him again the other week backstage, and then it led to last week. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? The main event with like the sort of face off and everything. But I think that alone has elevated it to lovely for me. But maybe it's too early to say that.
Yeah, it's. Should we go top of all right?
I think top of all right for now. We might review it as we go on because obviously things will start falling into place and he might not fit somewhere.
As a Daniel Bryan, it's not been one of the better ones, but it's still been okay. It's still had its highs. So next up, moving on to Pamela, who I'm just going to put her straight in the top.
Yes, 100%. She is such an annoying heel. Every single time she comes out to commentary, I just want to stick a knitting needle through my ears. She's just, heel Bayley was something that I think everybody knew would work, but the way it's been building and the work with Sasha and just retaining and using Sasha in that way and then having it all turn back on her, and it's been great.
She had the SmackDown Women's Championship record-breaking reign thingy-me-bob, which bled off her, of course, the new year and into this year, where she defeated Lacey Evans at the Rumble, Naomi at Super Showdown, 4 lasses at WrestleMania because, of course, Dana Brooke was ruled out through COVID. Then she screwed Tamina at Money in the Bank, or I should say Sasha Banks screwed Tamina on behalf of Bayley. Then we had the feud with Nikki and Alexa Bliss, where Sasha and Bayley sort of stuck the knife between those two best pals and sort of started their dissension to break up and go their separate ways. And of course that feud saw them win the women's tag team titles, the Boss Note Connection once again. Then we had a series of matches against Nikki Cross where Nikki Cross kept getting shots at the SmackDown women's title, maybe one too many, just based off, she kept losing. Why did she keep getting shots, Sam?
Yeah, I really don't like that about WWE. It's just constantly... it's one of the biggest complaints, isn't it? It's like, I've lost 12 matches in a row, but here's a title shot.
Hey, if it's good enough for Randy Orton, it's good enough for everybody else, isn't it? But then we have the Boss Note Connection losing the tag team titles to Nia and Shayna Baszler. And then after so many hints and teases every single week, I don't know about you on Graded, I would stand here on WTF going, there's another little thing that's hinting at Sasha turning on Bayley. But then, whoopsie diddles, they pulled the carpet from under our feet. Somehow, in my head, it was actually Bayley who turned on Sasha, of course. Then we had Asuka defeated at SummerSlam and at Clash of Champions. Then we came on to Hell in a Cell, and that was just great as well. And Pamela firmly deserves her spot in the top tier there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's possibly been the biggest standout year of Bayley so far because it's just been so interesting to watch heel Bayley develop. And I think if you go back to the original run of heel Bayley when it first started, The contrast is huge now. She's so comfortable in the character, and she's just embracing it fully. And yeah, I mean, turning on Sasha was so good. Yeah. It was so good.
And then we move on to Dolph Ziggler, who lost to Mansoor at Super Showdown, but of course he did, because that is the most fantastic streak alive in professional wrestling today. The tag team with Bobby Roode, they did, or Robert Roode I should call him now, they competed inside the Elimination Chamber in the Tag Team Championship Chamber match. With Roode forced to stay in Canada, off Zigglypuff went on a singles run, which took us to WrestleMania and the entire Otis thing, with Sonya getting involved with the text message and the meal that didn't happen, and all of that horribleness that built up to a fantastic tear-jerking WrestleMania moment. Excuse me, coming out of WrestleMania, where of course Ziggler lost to Otis and then lost Mandy as well. He lost to Otis once again in the Money in the Bank qualifying match. Then we moved on somehow to Dolph Ziggler challenging Drew McIntyre, and of course, while the story was there because they were a tag team for was it all of 2018 on Monday Night Raw against Seth Rollins and whoever Rollins was with. The story was there, but it was weird to see Ziggler, after so many losses and fresh off a defeat to Otis at WrestleMania, getting a WWE Championship shot. The match at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules was a good match, but of course he was never going to win, was he? So maybe that was slightly hampered by that predictableness. Is that fair?
I think he's got a curse of being a very, very, very good set of hands.
It's like Natalya.
He's like, you put him in there, you know you're going to get a great match. Like, provided that they've got enough time to go through it and there's some exciting moments, the crowd are hot for it, Ziggler can really bust it out. The guy is great, but I think because he's so capable of just working with people, he's often put in, or it feels like he's often just put into everything. And so, I mean, because after all of this amazing stuff you're talking about, where's he now?
He's in the SmackDown Tag Team Championship picture, Sam.
Yep.
It looks like the Dirty Dogs, I think they're calling themselves on Twitter, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. What a fantastic name that is. They're going to get a shot at the Street Profits potentially, as we're sat here on December the 9th at TLC, although we'll have to see where that one goes. I wouldn't be too surprised if that was a multi-tag team affair.
They
the way things are building,
sort of like a multi-thing. Yeah. So...
But yeah, we've had just a series of inconsequential matches, really. I think he was playing Pat Patterson on the most recent SmackDown to us sat here, where he was getting all the baby faces ganging up on him and doing all that stuff. But Dolph Ziggler, it's been... Obviously, the match at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules was fantastic. I think he played his role in the Otis feud very well indeed. Him and Sonya were fantastic together, especially Sonya. I miss Sonya. She's fantastic. Although she's got a lovely new dog. I think it's called Demon. It's a beautiful new Rottweiler puppy, and it's called Demon.
She's having the best time. Yeah. Just new puppy. Everything will be great. I'm sat here editing videos and onto my 4th cup of coffee. I'm going to have a heart attack by Christmas.
It could be worse. But Ziggler is a weird one because he has, while it has sort of petered out into a traditional sort of Dolph Ziggler nothingness period of time as we're sat here now, he's had some big moments this year.
Yeah. I mean, primarily the Otis feud was just gold. I mean, he played it up so well. Every single time he came onto the screen, you just wanted to throttle him. Like, even now when he's making fun of Otis and stuff, it's still the little, the embers are just there, just gently burning away. And maybe we'll get a definitive, return to that. But I don't know. It's been such a good year. Now he's on cooldown. I think lovely. Yeah,
so I'm just looking.
I was going to say,
looking at the all right tier, we've got Daniel Bryan in there, underwhelming year for his standards. Apollo Crews, while it's been better than most years, he's on the main roster. It's still a bit underwhelming. Cesaro, he's in there as well. I think Ziggler's been involved in more prominent things than those three put together.
Yeah, put him in, lovely.
There you go, Dolph. The character's dead, but you're fantastic all the same. And now we're moving on to Dominik Mysterio, who, of course, was introduced to us in 2019 by getting thrown around by Brock Lesnar on Monday Night Raw. It was horrible. Then we went to Survivor Series, of course, and that wonderful double 619 on Lesnar, which was just, it was amazing. Then we get to this year's, what's he been doing in 2020. He got involved with the Rey Mysterio versus Seth Rollins feud.
He was getting slapped in the back of the head by his hood on his ring gear.
Why did that stay on in that match? That was a baffling call.
It irritated me the entire time, because every single time we're watching him do anything, it was just going flap, flap, flap. And he just constantly got in the way. Like, I don't know how he didn't catch it or garrot himself. I was like, every time it got near something, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, so initially Dominik saved Alastair Black, or was saved by Alastair Black, sorry, and then that in turn led to Alastair Black getting his eye buggered with, and that in turn led to SummerSlam, where we had a street fight between Dominik Mysterio and Seth Rollins, and that was just great. And then we got Mysterio, or Dominik I should say, paying his dues because, you know, it's the professional wrestling business and you have to do these horrible things because old men backstage will say you're soft and don't respect them or something. He got 30 horrible kendo stick shots from Murphy and Seth Rollins on Raw. Tied up in the ropes. It was hard to watch, but he survived and he prospered. So more power to you, Dominik. Then we had a cage match with Seth Rollins, of course, and then we had the stuff going over to, which started on Raw, of course, but now bleeding over to SmackDown after the draft with Murphy and Aaliyah, who I don't know if it's weird for me because I nitpick everything, Sam, but it was just weird to see Dominik going, it's completely fine, Murphy, that you had a hand in blinding my dad and you're shagging my sister. Come in me family. I don't know if it's just because I'm a worse human being than Dominik, but I'd be saying, bugger off, Murphy. You've done enough. I don't want to be with you.
Yeah,
Go away.
It's quite odd. And then we had the weird, like, jumping up the other week on the side when he's supposed to be face and interfering in a match. But
yeah,
like the Murphy situation, I think we're all just sort of glad that that's moving forward now because it had been such a prominent thing approaching on the horizon and it just seemed like it was never going to get here. But that's, you know, we're past the end of that hopefully now. Things are moving on, but I don't know where they're going to take this. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but you got to know that Dominik's going to be featured, and so far he's not really disappointed.
I can't believe they haven't already. I guess credit to WWE, I should say, for holding off, because I think we all would like to see Rey and Dom win the tag team titles.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's a WrestleMania moment that could happen at WrestleMania 37.
100%.
So I guess well done to WWE for holding off on that, because I still want to see it happen, even if they are. I compared them to acting like the toys in Sid's back garden in Toy Story 1 with King Corbin on a SmackDown, two SmackDowns ago as we're sat here. Yeah. But I think Dominik, for it being his debut yet, well, his first proper debut year in terms of doing in-ring stuff and having matches and whatnot, I think it's lovely, lovely, lovely. I think he's knocked it out the park.
Well, I was not expecting it. Like, I knew that he was going to be pretty good because, I mean, he's from very, very good stock. He's from legendary stock. But, like, I mean, I don't like, he's just taken on all of the abilities of Rey and he's only going to get better. Like, he could be a huge deal for many, many, many years to come, and we're just at the ground floor right now, and he's already impressing. So, yeah. And I just love that story when he got backstage at SummerSlam and he was embraced by Vince and Rey was there watching. Brings a tear to your eye, so it does. But speaking of Ronald, now we're speaking about Rey Mysterio himself, who started the year having a series of fantastic matches against Andrade on Monday Night Raw. Yep. And then when Andrade got a suspension for buggering up the wellness policy kind of thing. What's the term they use for breaking the wellness policy. Violating.
Violating. That's the one, Sam. That's
policy.
why you're here with your brain. Angel Garza stepped in and Ronald Mysterio fought him on a few occasions. Then we had that match, and I say that match because I don't know if you remember, Sam, that match with MVP on Monday Night Raw, where I thought MVP was done because it was a horrible match where MVP looked like he couldn't keep up with Rey Mysterio. He was getting 619s to the back.
I think I remember you talking about this. I don't think I've seen the match in full, but I think you'd sent the highlights through and stuff. But
it's weird to see how they came through that because I don't know if it was predominantly one person or the other's fault, but it was just a mess. And it was like, oh, maybe these two old lads have lost it, but clearly not, because Rey Mysterio has not. Neither is MVP, as he's proven the rest of this year. Then we get into the whole Seth Rollins stuff with the eye. Which, if anything, I know we can laugh at the ping pong ball and all that, but it proved that Rey Mysterio can still do it at the very highest level.
It was supposed to be gorier. I want to know what it was. I really want to see what it was supposed to be, you know, if it was going to be a lot gorier. But it's at least Rey's sticking to it. At least Rey still has the eye covered. I know we're just out the back of that. He's probably going to go and get a miracle eye surgery and come back without it. But, you know, it's at least carried itself forward and thereby made a mark in the storyline. So at least it achieved something. But I'm just thankful that it's all kind of done, because it was... I mean, hokey isn't the word, because hokey doesn't go far enough.
Yeah, the way to win that match was to remove your opponent's eyeball.
Yeah. Referees just stood there going... Come on.
Let's have a fair match, lads. All the best to you. But then coming out of that, of course, then we get into the soap opera stuff involving his daughter and his son and Murphy. And it's a weird one because the wrestling has been fantastic. He hasn't lost a step, Rey Mysterio, I reckon. But the booking and the stipulations and just the downright silliness of most things he's been involved with this year, does that hamper his tier ranking here?
I don't think certain things have helped as well, like some of the scenarios that he's been put in backstage promos. There was one like the other week where he was furiously trying to ring Aaliyah, and Dominik pops up and he's like, Dad, what you doing in your normal clothes? You've got a match next. And he's like, go get my gear. And so Dominik turns around and literally takes a step, and then Corbin jumps him, and Dominik just keeps walking away as if he's not going to hear that behind him. But I think if it's going to hamper him, it can't hamper him by much. It's been going on long enough, but now it's done. Now we can move forward. But I do think that the longevity of that storyline, it just got tiring, didn't it?
It did get tiring. So where do you reckon he should go?
I think he's just going to be in all right.
Is he a tier below his son?
I'd say so, because Dominik's impressed more. We know that Rey can already do that.
It's still impressive that Rey can still do it, though.
After
30 years in the business and all the knees he's had over the years, the different knees. Poor bastard. But I guess it's a hard one.
It's tough to put him there because it's Rey Mysterio. But I don't know. I just don't think he's had as good a year as his son.
I think that's fair as well. Dominik has impressed a lot, and then we've got to speak about Aaliyah. She's on the roster. She loves Buddy Murphy, and I think she's not as robotic as someone in her position might be. We had that woman. What was she called? That woman off the telly who was with Angel Garza for a long time. I've forgotten her name completely here. I do apologise to that there woman off the telly.
I can't
she was robotic. She was making up words that don't belong in the dictionary. She was having a weird time. Whatever she was off The Bachelor or something like that on Monday Night Raw?
I can't.
Whatever she was called.
I know who you're on about.
Aaliyah could be as bad as her, but just nowhere near as bad as her, and I think that's credit to her.
Yeah, like she seems natural in all of the segments, everything. I mean, you're going to be a little deer in headlights when it first starts, but she seems to have gelled into the role nicely. Everything, it's just sort of going ahead. She's in the middle of this family feud. It's quite Romeo and Juliet in the way that, it's somebody who's betrayed, as an enemy of the family. And it... Wrestling is hokey and it's full of this sort of stuff. And I don't think it's been as bad as quite a lot of the romance angles in terms of how it's been delivered. But yeah, she's the standout of this, I think. Out of all of that story, she's the standout.
Now this is hard because she's done stuff, but she's not done a lot.
Yeah, she's a personality rather than a performer.
Is it a slap in the face to Alastair Black, Natalya, and Shorty G / Chad Gable if we put Aaliyah in all right?
No, because I think that you wouldn't, like, as I said, she's more of like an on-screen personality rather than an in-ring talent. So I think as long as we make that clear, we're not saying she's as good as these people at wrestling or anything.
Context is key here, everybody.
As long as we make it clear that she's sort of filling a managerial role here.
I can see the comments now already, Sam, going, Aaliyah above Alastair Black? Get in. Oh, you can't be right there,
WWE shills? Oh, God.
Well, put her in all right. I guess it's a weird one to rank because, as we say, she hasn't completely, messed up or anything at any point. She's hardly been, front and center and closing the show with a promo. So she's not going to have any moments like that where she can really shine if she does have that mic ability. We don't really know that yet. So I think, it's just middle of the table. Yeah, when she was telling her dad, I love that man, I don't care what you say, and then stormed off. That belonged in Coronation Street. And that's a compliment, by the way. I love Coronation Street, mate.
It's a big part of wrestling, soap opera.
So I can't wait to read the comments about how we've got Aaliyah above Alastair Black. You can just save yourselves, save your fingers, why not?
Dirty shill.
Jey Uso, an interesting one. He returned
the best.
I can't argue with that, Sam. but for the purposes of the viewers, I'll go through his 2020 highlights. He returned at the start of the year sporting a mullet. Already, for that alone, he should be in the best. He helped Roman Reigns in an attack from Corbin and Ziggler, and of course he would go on to help Roman Reigns defeat King Corbin at the Royal Rumble. He challenged for the SmackDown Tag Team titles inside the Elimination Chamber, which of course was won by Miz and Joe Mo, and then Jimmy unfortunately buggered his knee in that great ladder match at WrestleMania, and that's where we Jimmy went for a while there. He didn't do too much, but then bloody hell, when main event Jey Uso did nothing for a while, but when main event Jey Uso was born, he hasn't looked back.
I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe it. And when he delivered that promo to Roman, where he's like, you know what they say when they look at me? They ask, which one are you? And I was like, oh, god damn. Like, that's it. Like, he completely sealed his fate there. And, like, he deserves that. And the promo work's been excellent, like, at the minute with him bubbling away behind Roman's bossing him around. And you can tell that he's completely conflicted and his mind is just being completely twisted and warped. And Roman's, like, beating him with one hand and, like, pulling him closer to him with the other. And it's he doesn't know what to do. And it's some of the best character work we've seen in WWE in a hell of a long time.
And this all started, of course, with Big E getting an injury on SmackDown. Jey took E's place in a fatal four-way match with the winner facing Roman Reigns at Clash of Champions, which of course Jey Uso won. Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns was on at Clash of Champions, where Reigns won via TKO because Jimmy came down and threw in the towel. What a bastard. Then we get to Hell in a Cell and what's the word to describe that match? Because it was fantastic, but it was so different from any sort of Hell in a Cell match we've seen before, just due to the sheer drama.
It was more like wrestling as performance, like rather than in-ring prowess. It was more like it was what would happen if you took a storyline and made it a match rather than having the storyline surround the match. It was very story heavy, and I remember watching it going, this is unbelievable, but like kicking the show off for this. Like that's a big commitment, and luckily it worked. But I mean, they've just not looked back, have they? Not a single one of them.
And of course, there was massive ramifications in that Hell in a Cell match because if Jey lost, he had to fall in line, of course, and help his brother Roman Reigns. But if he didn't fall in line, all future generations of the Usos would have been banned from coming round to Roman Reigns' house for Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Jey Uso's great grandchild wants to go around to Roman Reigns for Christmas dinner because, of course, Roman Reigns will still be alive by then.
I've just figured it out.
Would have been turned away, wouldn't he?
I've just figured it out. This is going to happen again, and that's going to be a stipulation, and Jay's going to lose, and everybody's going to get banned, and it's going to be the feud for every WrestleMania until 2100.
What would that be called? That feud, the
bloodline feud.
The bloodline feud, whatever. And then we get on to the real sort of push of main event Jey Uso, where he's main eventing all these SmackDowns in a row. He's beating the likes of Daniel Bryan, and then he's sort of, as you say at the start of the discussion here about Jey, he's really conflicted. It looked like he was falling in line at one point, and then all of a sudden Roman Reigns is being a dick to him because Jey keeps sort of stepping out the line and putting his foot in it.
But he's only doing it just because he thinks that he's defended the family, and it's what Roman wants. And when Roman sort of left him high and dry last week at the time of recording, and then he came out, attacked Owens after the bell, and then attacked Jey, and it's like he's just beating the crap out of his cousin and then pulling him in closer because Jey doesn't want to upset Roman like that anymore. And it's going to come to the point where he's more and more timid and just broken, and then Jimmy's going to have to do something about it.
Bloody Jimmy, yeah. And
this is going to be so good.
And speaking of Jimmy, we've got to sort of rank Jimmy, although it's a hard one to do because, of course, he returned at the start of the year like Jey did after some personal issues outside of the ring. Got involved in the King Corbin feud with Roman Reigns. Then we had the stuff with the Miz and Joe Mo and Ziggler and Rude, Corbin and Ziggler, all the stuff at the fantastic WrestleMania triple threat ladder match where he injured his knee, and then he's just been out of action since then. He threw in the towel and cost Jey the match at Clash of Champions, and then he came in at Hell in a Cell and made Jey say I quit because he was getting attacked by Roman Reigns. So we've got Jimmy to blame for Jey Uso not being a WWE champion.
He had that wonderful moment with Roman where he thought it was Jay on the screen, and then Jimmy removed the bandana, and then Jay attacked him from behind. I thought that was class. But yeah, it's another hard one in the sense that it's sort of like Bo Dallas, in which it's like we haven't really seen you much this year. It's not a reflection of you. It's just we can't really judge you on much. So I think he's probably going to have to go unbearable simply because he's actually showed up a bit.
That's the thing. He's done a few monumental things, but it's not his fault that he hasn't done more monumental things. And hopefully more monumental things will be to come in 2021 because surely Jimmy's got to get involved in this one when he's back and fit.
I think Jay's going to become just completely broken and subservient to Roman and like a robot, and Jimmy's the one that's going to be like, nah.
Snap out of it,
Jimmy's gonna bring the Rock in, and hopefully
Tamina.
Not this coming Mania, next Mania, because I'd like to see this just drag out, like
not
Roman
a chance in hell,
Rock.
Sam.
Oh.
Never gonna happen. But I like your optimism there. I like your optimism. But we're moving on to Bianca Belair, who of course started this year in NXT, where she lost to Rhea Ripley at TakeOver Portland in a match that was really a formality, with the win at WrestleMania was building up with Rhea Ripley good and Charlotte Flair and asking Charlotte Flair to challenge her. She then entered the Women's Royal Rumble. Then eliminated a record 8 women before Charlotte Flair chucked her out. Then we had the match with Charlotte. I think this was on NXT TV. This was Bianca's last match in NXT, where Charlotte injured her. Well, I think it was her knee or her ankle that Charlotte injured, and put Bianca out, and that was sort of her NXT career done. Without, of course, winning the NXT Women's Championship, which was a bit of a shock. Just looking at Bianca Belair, then she rocks up at WrestleMania to save the Street Profits from Vega, from Garza, and from Theory. And that looked like she was going to be aligned with the Street Profits going forward on Monday Night Raw. We did some stuff the next night, the Raw after WrestleMania, but then she went missing. She went missing for a very long time until she rocked up on SmackDown to be in a battle royal with the winner going on to face Bayley. And then officially after that, she was drafted to SmackDown. And then the Fatal 4-Way to qualify for Survivor Series. And then we all saw what happened at Survivor Series with her getting she passed out and then came back to it and then got counted. It was all just a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
Some people are saying she got sacrificed for Lana at Survivor Series. I don't think it was that severe, to be honest with you. I know Lana stood on the stairs and did nothing, but I don't know why they didn't just have
fresh, like in terms of the main roster. So I think there's going to be a lot of this sort of experimentation, as there always is, where it's can we put you into this sort of role? Can we put you into that sort of role? Can we try this? Can we try that? And eventually something's going to stick. But yeah, it was an odd time, sort of just quite up and down, her early experiences with the main roster.
Yeah, it's the promo packages I quite enjoyed, where they were just displaying her physical prowess, and Dave Meltzer took them really seriously, going, that can't possibly be true. How can she do these things?
She's apparently the most naturally gifted athlete that WWE have ever signed, though.
I can believe that.
Because she's apparently like, I think there was a college report on her or something that she was like a once in a generation level athlete, and she's chosen to do pro wrestling. So it's huge if her career goes on like for a long time, and hopefully it will, and we'll have somebody there to really lead that charge forward for another generation. But we're sort of still in that build-up phase, and we're getting there now with Bayley. Like, we're getting that sort of back and forth, and the goad in, and she's going to get some good featured time with like a superstar, like a real superstar, for the first time, I guess, on like a very big stage. But we're kind of still waiting for that to come along. We're like at the bus stop. We know where we're going, but we're at the bus stop.
Just waiting for the bus to come along. All right, is that too harsh? I think it's fair, because she's missed large portions of the year, hasn't she? And the match, she hasn't had a big match on the main roster yet. I guess you could count Survivor Series, where she was impressive. The Royal Rumble, she has had a big match. Sam. Rumble, the Royal Rumble. What am I talking about? But it's been fleeting, hasn't it?
Yeah, she's not quite had that big first singles feud, I guess. It has been sort of just moments, just sort of sprinkled on at the minute.
I'll go for the very tippy top of all right, because as we say, we're getting to know her, getting to know all.
And that's the thing as well, is the argument now with, you've saw her in NXT, it's redundant now. I mean, it's always sort of been redundant, because the second you're out of NXT, anything can happen.
Exactly.
Shorty G.
Kalisto. Kalisto's on SmackDown, everybody. Kalisto got ripped this year. He's in fantastic physical condition. He's got unbelievable muscles.
Uses
and all
that credit card to get his pecs and his abs all fly and stuff.
Yeah, I'd do that. 4 matches he's had this year, though, Sam. He lost to Cesaro. Then Lucha House Party defeated Cesaro and Nakamura. We had the Clash of Champions kickoff show, lost to Nakamura and Cesaro once again. And then he was in the Survivor Series Battle Royale. Wake up, mouth. Will you speak the words properly? Yes, you will, mouth. Hello.
Kalisto has been interesting for me this year simply due to the
what?
Like I don't mean like interesting as in like, you know, like, oh my god, I can't wait for the next installment of Kalisto. I mean like the only real thing of note in my head that stands out, and it's simply because I used to grade 205 live. So I spent a lot of time watching Lucha House Party matches and I understand the athletic prowess of them and everything, but they were always kind of redundant in the story department because it was always like, we're just here to lucha and party. And when we had that sort of tease with Lindsay, and then there was the back and forth, and maybe this could all explode, and Kalisto's like come back all ripped, and he starts like having a go at them for losing matches, and it was like, oh Christ, we could actually be ready to see something here from the Lucha House Party. And then it all kind of went. And then he turned up last week on SmackDown in a fedora. In full gimmick.
What was that about? Was that some sort of in-joke with Pat Patterson or something I've got?
It either was or he accidentally walked through the door and it was live. That's the only other thing I could think of.
Surely he knows what a fedora is, though.
Well, that was it, yeah. He didn't know what a fedora was, but he was wearing one. I don't know. But Kalisto, I think this, yeah, it's been, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Ruby Riott.
Ruby Riott is somebody I'm quite excited to see go further in SmackDown. I'm hoping that there's going to be some sort of featured, you know, storyline heading forward for like everybody involved there. But like, I don't know, because she's another interesting character that they never really seem to know what to do with.
Yeah. She's
just kind of lumped in with the Riot Squad, and obviously it's all part of that whole thing, and it's all moved forward. And
she's got a unique look, obviously. I think she's got a fantastic promo, and she's a good wrestler. So I don't understand why more hasn't happened for Ruby Riott after. It's been 2 years now, hasn't it? Just about on the main roster. But in terms of 2020, she returned after a long period out injured and turned on Liv Morgan. They had a bit of an embrace, and then she turned on her and went off as a heel. They had a match Liv and Ruby did on Raw, I think it was, where Sarah Logan, when Sarah Logan was still employed by the company, where Sarah was the special guest referee, and Liv won that match, I think, if memory serves. A fast count by Logan there on that occasion there. She competed at Elimination Chamber, where, of course, Shayna Baszler just destroyed everybody. Lost more matches to Liv Morgan coming out of WrestleMania, where it looked like Liv Morgan was getting a push, and Ruby Riott just wasn't. And then all of a sudden, Ruby Riott had just lost so many matches. Liv Morgan had started losing so many matches as well, and Ruby was trying to console Liv Morgan, when surely Ruby should have been rejoiced in the fact that Liv was losing all these matches since they were in a feud not so long ago. And then it turned into Ruby trying to convince Liv Morgan to get the Riot Squad back together. Obviously, Sarah Logan had been released by this point, unfortunately. And then, out of nowhere, the Riot Squad were back. They were baby faces. And then they had a match with the Iconics, where if the Iconics lost, they would have to disband. So the Riot Squad are responsible for the Iconics disbanding, and that's heartbreaking, and up yours for winning that match. You should just lay it down and let them win. They're the best. That's what I'm saying to you. She apologised, Ruby Riott, to Liv Morgan on the KO show, and that signified the Riot Squad coming back, and now they're on SmackDown, and it's nothing.
It's weird. Like as you said, she's a good promo. She's good in the ring. But they just seem to like to use her as cannon fodder. I know that there are so many people that there's only so much storyline for, you know, and so much TV time, but they just kind of use her in inconsequential matches at the minute inconsequential, matches at the minute, and it's. Is it going to change? Like, is that ever going to change? You'd hope so, but
yeah, I don't know what to say. It's so weird because she's got it all. I reckon she's got it all.
Yeah.
Promo, wrestling, all you want from a professional wrestler in WWE, but she just doesn't get used and doesn't get utilized properly, and it's weird. It's a weird thing to try and put in a tier ranking list thing here. I guess bearable, is that fair?
Yeah,
because she's capable of so much more.
Yeah, she's capable of so much more, and at least had some sort of featured moments, even if it was destroying one of the best tag teams that WWE had. But, it's featured time. It's a featured moment. Maybe they're going to be able to parlay that into something moving along. But they've not really done much on SmackDown since, re-arriving. And it's just felt odd, to the point where I thought, are they going to get involved in the whole Bayley thing? Could they be Bayley's muscle? But then that's such a step down for Ruby. And it's hard. It's proper hard to analyze when you've got characters that they just sort of mow down.
Yeah. Kane is on SmackDown.
He's doing a cracking job in Knox County, Tennessee.
We have to put him in this tier ranking. He is officially a member of the SmackDown roster. Kane has done two things here in 2020 in WWE. First of all, he was attacked by The Fiend at the start of the year in the midst of the Fiend versus Daniel Bryan feud. And then he turned up at Survivor Series in his gear.
I'm sorry, Ross, but you might have to stick your beloved in the bin.
I can never present one of these videos again. I've got Tamina and my favourite Kane in the bin. Not my favourite Kane. My favourite, Kane. I guess could we go bearable for doing such a wonderful job at Survivor Series? Is that something we could possibly do, Sam? Because of course everyone was there.
He was the only one that committed to it.
Exactly, and for that he's got to get out the bin and into just about bearable. Big bloody Glenn. And I love the irony that I think he voted against Mass, didn't he, in the spring, and then he rocked up the Survivor Series wearing one. So I guess the inner turmoil for that. Let's put him in bearable because that's funny. And then we're going on to Kevin Owens, who started the year feuding with Seth Rollins in the build-up to WrestleMania. This is a period of time where Seth Rollins was building his church, or whatever the hell he was going to call this thing, with the AOP and Murphy. After the whole Survivor Series fallout, where Rollins turned heel, of course, and he was going to be the Messiah, the Savior of Monday Night Raw. He cost Rollins and Murphy the tag team titles. I guess that was with the Street Profits right at the start of the year. Then we get, finally... The build to WrestleMania was weird this year for Kevin Owens because it was all about Kevin Owens not having this WrestleMania moment. And would he finally get this WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania 36?
Would he ever?
You can reel off a few at WrestleMania 32 in that ladder match. The finger on the rope at WrestleMania 33 against Chris Jericho. 34, he was involved in Daniel Bryan's return after so many years away, for goodness sake. What did he do at 30? He did nothing at 35, did he? Was he in the Battle Royal? I can't remember, to be honest with you.
Can't even remember.
But yeah, he finally did get his WrestleMania moment at WrestleMania 36 by jumping off the sign inside the Performance Center through Seth Rollins and through the announce table. He defeated Murphy on the horror show at Extreme Rules on that kickoff show, and then had a short program with Alastair Black, which coincided with Black's heel turn and new theme and eye patch and all that malarkey. Drafted to SmackDown, he was on Team SmackDown at Survivor Series, and then we get to where we are today, where KO is challenging Roman Reigns for the title at TLC with a wonderful promo alongside Paul Heyman on Talking Smack. Do you see that one?
Yes. Ooh. Yes, I think I did. But he's just gone from strength to strength this year, I think. It's not all been, mega step ups. The steps are very, very strangely shaped, but everything just seems to have naturally just sort of incremented, and now he's gone with the whole Roman thing. And the fact that it's him, Rockets. Bryan, Roman, and Jey Uso, I don't think anybody could have called that for being at the center of the most important storyline on SmackDown, but they're just knocking it out of the park, aren't they? And Owens is a big factor in that.
I do hope they explore the Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens tag team more next year, because I think those two with their sense of humour could do something special together. But Kevin Owens, lovely.
I think he's got to go into lovely.
He had that WrestleMania moment finally, didn't he? We can't rob him of too much joy after that once in a lifetime WrestleMania moment. Oh, I've done the right click thing, Sam. I hope you enjoy editing that. Anyway,
right.
Moving on to King Corbin, who of course started the feuding with Roman Reigns. They had the Falls Count Anywhere match at the Royal Rumble, which was ended where Roman Reigns did the spear on the dugouts inside that there baseball stadium. What a fantastic moment. He then lost a cage match to Roman at Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. Then he tried to murder Elias in the build-up to WrestleMania 36. Then they had that match at WrestleMania, which nobody gave a hoot about. Weird time. Almost won Money in the Bank, where him and AJ were fighting at the top of the ladder. Then they fumbled it and it dropped it to Otis's hands. So close yet so far. Then we had the main roster debut feud for Riddle, where King Corbin put a ransom on, at the time, Matt Riddle's head because he was being annoying and stoner-like. Yes. And then we get to Survivor Series, where, of course, he was involved there as well. And now we have the brand new... The King's Court, is that what we're going with? The two henchmen? Yeah. We have Wesley Blake and Cutler. Steve Cutler, that's his name, isn't it? Yep. Freshly shaved, fresh-faced. Weird to see. They just don't... They've had beards the entire lives, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't recognise them until they got that clear shot, and I think it was Cole said who they were, and I was like, okay. But if this was, ranking Corbin as a person, as a character, like, he has done everything that's been asked of him, and I'd have put him in lovely, lovely, lovely. But it's of no fault of his own, but he's sort of the de facto first boss. So, like, you get into SmackDown, or you start any trouble, and you're not in a storyline, the first person you got to get past is King Corbin. He's always on TV. He's always going to be there, like, almost every week, and he's always going to try and just be a massive, massive knob. So,
I'm surprised the King thing has lasted this long, because I thought, like, obviously in 2019 when he won the thing, that it would be a yearly thing, and when this year's came around, maybe COVID played its part and we couldn't do that for whatever reason. But I was thinking, surely have it for a year. He needs to move on. Yeah. It's had its life.
I think I've talked to you about this before, though. I think that the reason it's still around is simply because Baron Corbin as a character is just such a loser. Like, and he doesn't want people to think he's a loser. So he's like, he's the king of the ring. He's the king. He's King Corbin, and he's going to be King Corbin forever. And like he will always in his mind be King Corbin, which is why, even though nobody really cares, he's the one that's got the crown and the cape and the what do you call it, scepter. and everything, and like he's the one that makes a big deal of him being king. He's the one with the big stupid like horns at the start of his theme. He's the one that gets carried out on a sedan, and everybody else is like, who's this loser? And it like that's why I think I like Corbin, simply because he's blissfully unaware, I think, as a character, that he's like, he doesn't look anywhere near as cool as he thinks he does, and he doesn't command anywhere near enough respect as he thinks he does. But I like that he just perseveres. He just thinks that, yeah, I'm the king, therefore I get this shot. And it's like, no, you don't. And he's like, yes, I do.
Yeah. So where do we go? Because obviously, as you say, he does everything that's asked of him, and he always seems to do exactly what they want him to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep putting him in such a prominent position.
But he's on TV nearly every week, so he's doing something right.
And but what they're asking him to do is quite basic, isn't it? It's quite basic, isn't it? It's outdated shtick. Yeah. It's weird because I don't know where to put him, Sam.
I mean, the End of Days is one of the most protected finishes in the game.
It's the only one in WWE, man. It's the only one. Yeah,
really?
Gotta be.
But like, he's developed so well as a character, and it sucks to have to do this. But as much as I'd like to stick him in lovely, 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 I think he's got to go near the top of all right.
I'd agree with that as well. I thought, hopefully, it's still always in the back of my mind when I see him, just how interesting a guy he is outside the ring, and how they could easily play into all that skull collecting and whatever else he does.
Yeah, and meat and whiskey and watches and cars,
cigars,
and he is like, they could lean in so hard on that with Corbin. I mean, when he was wearing the little suit and stuff, and he had the like dress shirts on, and he looked like a douche. And you could lean into, if he has hobbies that traditionally, like are very expensive hobbies, it's the type of thing douches would brag about. And it's the type, like, he should be turning up, you know, in a car that's ridiculous, and he's got a ridiculous watch, and it's easy stuff to destroy to further feuds.
Yeah, I would still like to go around to your house for tea, Baron Corbin, if you're watching.
I'd love
follow
to
you
as well.
Do you follow his personal Instagram page?
Yes.
Fantastic scenes. All the meat, all the whiskey. I would love to go around to Baron Corbin's for tea. But moving on to Lars Sullivan. Michael Cole, I can do a Raw, me. Watch.
3, 2, 1. Just in his face. Just that close to Cole.
This was a perplexing time for Lars Sullivan.
It's always a perplexing time for Lars Sullivan, mate.
We were getting told these promos of how he was bullied at school and that led him to murdering several children in the woods or something like that. And that's why he's the arsehole he is today. We should feel sorry for Lars Sullivan because it was the bullies that created this horrible monster. But he can do a Raw, though. Watch him do the Raw.
I got bullied. Raw. I'm not out murdering anybody.
Yeah. It's... And I love that second promo, because obviously we had the first promo with Corey Graves where Lars was just sat there in a polo shirt. I think it was some sort of silky polo shirt that a twat would have worn in the 1990s or something like that. But now we have the next week when he's with Michael Cole and he's just inexplicably shirtless.
Yeah,
doing the same sit-down conversation.
He's the big hairy freak monster, and it's like you gotta weigh those two things up. Which one do you want more? But at the same time, his own personal life has affected his in-ring and storylines and everything. Because when he finally came back, like, more stuff came out that was more recent, and then it sidelined. Then we get the whole freak with, like, screaming promo, and then he's just disappeared again. And
yes,
he's got to be in the bin.
He's got to be in the bin. He did defeat Shorty G. Yeah. At one point, I think that's the only sort of notable thing.
I think that was when he came back. He came back and just trashed everything and, like, destroyed Shorty G.
Yeah, but that's it. Let's move on, Sam. Who cares about Lars Sullivan? I know they've probably got big hopes for the guy because he's got a really unique look and he's a big, scary, strong man, and he's got a wonderful body. But he does nothing for me. He does absolutely nothing. Do you anything for you?
No, like his entrance in NXT used to be really cool, where all the lights would go out and you'd have the silhouette of him and the scream, and then the lights would come up, and it was like, yeah, this is like, they've gone really hard in on like the weird like horror movie monster type thing. Like he's just this really dangerous, strange person. But then by the time he gets up to the main roster and then everything that's sort of happened, it's all just fallen by the wayside.
Yes, it has. And now moving on to someone else who was fallen by the wayside, and that's Billie Kay, because the Iconics, of course, were split up inexplicably in 2020 after feuding with Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss for a bit. Then we had the Iconics making fun of Ruby Riott, who was losing all of her matches and losing all of her friends at this period of time. That then led to the Riott Squad getting back together, and that matchup where, for whatever reason, it was never really explained, I don't think, the Iconics, if they lost this match against the Riott Squad, they would have to split up forever.
Just cause.
And who? Why?
Just cause.
I would understand. I would understand if the Iconics had a run like the New Day. 5 years together at the top, selling loads of merch, doing everything together. But they never gave the Iconics a fair crack as a heel team.
We
didn't even try as a babyface team. They were fantastic together. You got to be joking me, all that stuff. We all know how fantastic they were. And it never got used or utilised at all on the main roster. And it really does boggle my mind. But now we find ourselves on SmackDown with Billie Kay. Hasn't done too much in the way of wrestling, but she is going around the backstage area, passing around her CV and my headshot. Would you like my headshot? She's from London now, everybody. But it's hopefully, because they teased, as a game was sat here on December the 9th, they teased last week on Twitter that Adam Pearce was going to do something with Billie Kay, because we saw on the previous week's SmackDown Billie Kay had in her CV to Adam Pearce.
Yeah.
And I think Adam Pearce was like, oh, we'll see you on Friday night. Didn't see her at all. Why tease that sort of thing on social media and get me hopes up?
I think it's, again, because we've still got those residual bits of, storyline here and there. And then last week, obviously, we had a very unexpected situation that led to SmackDown being changed around a bit, I guess. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was this week coming. But, yeah, she needs something, because she's too funny not to have something. And it needs to be something good. To be honest, even if it's not, she'll make it good, because she's that type of talent, it seems. But we need something. But it's been fun so far, just watching her pop up and everybody's just sort of like, thanks, yeah, see you later, and handing her a CV back. But
but the Iconics as a whole for most of the year did nout. They had the feud with Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, and then the Riot Squad, and now it's starting to go somewhere. Maybe it's a case of who we were speaking about earlier, Bianca Belair, who should be potentially ranked higher in this tier, but because we're just sort of getting to know her, she's taken down a notch or two. So maybe bearable has got to be the limit for BK.
I think bearable's probably where we're at, but with a look to move up a couple of steps in the next couple of weeks.
Mojo is a member of the SmackDown roster. He started the year. Apparently he is. He started the year in the midst of the 24/7 title. With Riddick Moss as his offensive lineman. But then Riddick Moss would turn on him for some reason. He then got moved to SmackDown, where he got rid of the man in the mirror shtick and became the most annoying man in the world, in everybody's eyes apart from Adam Pacitti for some reason, as he brought Gronk into WWE. They had all kinds of fun doing dancing and stuff, and I just don't like Gronk at all.
I really thought Gronk was going to be a much bigger deal. Like I genuinely thought they weren't going to go down that route with it, but it was what it was. It didn't really work, and we'll probably see him return one day for a little bit of a funny. But
he'd make a great heel. Because I thought he was horribly annoying.
He made a 70-odd-year-old man jump off a platform.
He did. Vince McMahon's fat. He's great. Obviously, he's got his flaws as Vince McMahon, but when you see moments like that, it's just he's a myth. Where are we going here? Apparently, according to Wikipedia, which is where I looked at Mojo Rawley's because that was the only place who had anything written down about him. He turned heel over the summer, and I was thinking surely he was a heel with Gronk being an annoying arsehole. And apparently, he had a match in June where he lost to Shorty G, and that's the bin.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry, Adam.
And it is a shame because Mojo, I said this on the channel before, Mojo Rawley, when he was cutting those like slow and methodical and real moody promos where he lowered his voice, fantastic promo. It doesn't have to be the jumpy, shouty arsehole all the time. He can do the other way completely fine. But it's another guy who's he's talented. He is talented, but they don't use him, and it's
just a shame. It's a big shame.
It is. I don't know what else to say about that.
No. Murphy is slowly climbing the ranks, and I think whatever's going to come next with the Mysterios, for sure, could propel him forward into something a lot bigger. But in terms of the year he's had, he's been at the forefront of a major storyline. But
he started the year alongside Seth Rollins, obviously Seth being the Monday Night Messiah. Murphy being the Disciple, that was his nickname, with the horrible, crappy t-shirt. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And this, of course, was after Murphy went through a sort of a breakdown of sorts, live on Raw, where he lost to Alastair Black, and then he just sat at ringside for an uncomfortable period of time until Seth Rollins was like, "Come on in, child.
Yeah.
See the light. See the light." Picked up by Seth Rollins, where he got involved in the feud with Kevin Owens and the AOP thrown in there as well.
Yep.
Rollins and Murphy won the tag team titles from the Viking Raiders. They defended them against the Street Profits at Super Showdown, but lost, of course, in that last chance ever rematch on Raw. Fantastic pop and all. Murphy then got involved in the little feud between Rollins and Daddy Drew McIntyre, which then spilled over into the entire Rey Mysterio thing. The tag team matches they had, where it was Mysterio and Black for a while against Rollins and Murphy, and then Mysterio and Mysterio against Murphy and Rollins for a while. We know where we're going here.
Yeah.
He was the guy who blinded hurt Alastair Black's eye. I guess it was another case of globe luxation. That stayed with me for some reason, Sam.
Globe luxation.
When Charlie Caruso came on, whatever pay-per-view it was,
the
horror show at Extreme Rules. Yeah. We've just learned that Rey Mysterio has suffered some globe luxation. It's just stayed with me for some reason. Then we went to Payback, where Murphy kicked Seth Rollins in the face, and that allowed Rey Mysterio to win, which began the sort of tension between Rollins and Murphy, where Rollins would tell Murphy to stay backstage because he was getting away and stuff. Murphy then slammed the cage door on Seth Rollins, which opened the door for Dominik to do some things. And after that match, that's where Rollins finally full-on attacked Murphy and kicked the poo out of him. Then we go starting getting cozy with Aaliyah on SmackDown and the stuff with Rey and Dominik, and it went on and on and on. The master plan for Buddy Murphy, where he was sort of leading Seth Rollins along for a bit, even though Rey Mysterio didn't believe him. I think Aaliyah did, didn't she? She believed him.
Was that the master plan that lasted 1 week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, it was Rey and Seth having the match, wasn't it? And then Murphy got involved and helped Rey defeat Seth. Whew. And then Murphy himself had a no-holds-barred match. Did he have a match against Rollins? I just imagined that in my own head.
I'm sure he had a match against Rollins.
He probably did, Sam. This video is dragging on for years. But where are we going here for Murphy?
I think I think All Right is a good place to put him because he's been at the center of a lot of stuff, but he's never really been a focal. He's never really been that guy who's had a big single story outside of, say, the cruiserweight division. He's just sort of always been a bit of a background character. Now's the time for him to step up. So I think All Right's a good place to put him because he's been featured, but he's about to sort of move on.
That's it. He's just always good, isn't he? He's never like wow. He's always just good.
He's the type of bloke where you could be like, oh, do a backflip, and he could do it. But if it's cut a really long rambly promo, then it might differ. So I think he's got to be placed with the right people, but it could work quite well.
Might be a bit harsh there, but we'll see what the comments say, Sam. We'll see what the comments say. Carmella. She started the year by entering the Women's Royal Rumble. Obviously, she did not win. She then tagged with Dana Brooke to unsuccessfully challenge Sasha Banks and Bayley for the tag team titles. She competed at Money in the Bank. Then she went away for a period of time for one reason or another. I'm not sure. Do you know why? I don't know. I couldn't find out why.
Was it potentially an injury? It might have been just like
Maybe.
a storyline right off.
And then we sort of had the Mystery Woman promo start on SmackDown where they had serious Emelina vibes. We saw sparkly dresses and shoes and Chardonnay or whatever drink it was, a glass of piss.
And now we've got Carmelina.
And Carmelina debuted by attacking Sasha Banks from the rear, which she did a few weeks in a row. And then we've had a couple of good promos back and forth between the pair of them. Yeah. I assume they're going to have a match at TLC, although I don't think it's been confirmed at the time of recording.
I think, Sasha called her out, didn't she, in that promo? So I think it's going ahead.
Yeah, but Carmella, it's obviously she started the year as a babyface, sort of, kind of still involved with R-Truth, but not really, if memory serves correctly. Dana Brooke, the tag team, it must have been a babyface because obviously Dana Brooke is everyone's favourite babyface. Flex those muscles,
Get up
guys.
and have a stretch, everybody.
Remember them during the commercial breaks. Unbelievable. But then obviously now she's cutting the you people promos. I'm not gonna please you people. I'm gonna do it all for me. I'm sick of you people. People. I hate
Sasha's just jealous of me, and all the standard stuff.
That was the thing. It was a complete rip-off of Randy Orton and Edge's promos, wasn't it? Oh, Sasha Banks, you must be so jealous. It's been your dream your entire life, but it's me.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I just
caught.
Exactly like Randy Orton. I just turned up here on a whim and I found it all so easy. It must break your heart with this being your dream and that. But they were good promos if they were a bit like somebody else's promos from earlier this very year. Again, it's young and in this fresh sort of stroke for Carmella. It's I guess it's a different word, isn't it, Sam? Yeah. She's always been about the money and the sort of glitz and the glamour. I guess she's more of an alcoholic than she was once before. There's a key difference there. Instead of fabulous, it's now untouchable. But it's still pretty much the same, but with a bit more bleach blonde hair and a bit more alcohol.
Yeah, she's got just sort of that old money vibe. She's just better than you, and it's uncharted territory at this stage. But from everything we've seen. With that promo, because all we'd had really was the attacks, everything we've seen, it should be a great feud, but where are you thinking?
I'm thinking bearable, just because, as I say, we've been through the highlights there, and I guess if it was an injury, it's not really her fault once again.
Yeah.
We know what she's capable of. Again, I think she's one of the more all-rounders. One of the more all-rounders, that makes sense in my head. She's one of the more complete packages in the women's division, I'm trying to say. She can cut a promo, we know that much, either heel or babyface.
She good at wrestle.
She is good at the wrestle. She's proven that in matches with Charlotte Flair in the past. I'm sure she'll have a great match with Sasha Banks when the time comes, and there will be 17,000 super kicks to piss off Bryan Alvarez, who seems to pick up on that a lot. But yeah, I think there's more to come from. Obviously, there's more to come from Carmella next year, and we'll just have to see where she's ranked this time next year, Sam.
Yeah,
when we're back doing the SmackDown 21/22 season. It never ends. The content never ends. But now moving on to our pal, my bane spirit animal since Rusev departed this year, Otis.
Best,
Mr. Otis Dozovich.
best.
Are you sure?
Come on, Ross. I'm a big lad.
I know, but so am I. But I don't want to bastardise this entire table. We've taken it very seriously.
No, we've taken it very seriously. So
until now, we've got Tamina in the bin, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Otis obviously started with the romance with Mandy started at the arse end of 2019. It bled over into this year. The meal on Valentine's Day, the text from Sonya, the rivalry with Dolph, the WrestleMania kiss, the sauciness in the swimming pool, which I have got saved as a GIF on my computer, Sam. I don't know why I have, but it's on my work computer as a GIF, those two necking on. And I might just share it on Twitter randomly one day.
No script, just post that on its own, see what happens.
Just make myself look like a creep. Then we defeat Dolph Ziggler once again to qualify for Money in the Bank, which of course Otis won because he was stood in the right place at the right time as King Corbin and AJ Styles were fighting and squabbling over the briefcase at the top of the ladder. Falls down, he catches it, but then things went south for our pal Otis, because if you started watching WWE just after Money in the Bank 2020, you would have no idea who Mr. Money in the Bank was, because he never appeared.
Yes, he never appeared, and then the briefcase would be a briefcase, and then it was a lunchbox, and then it would be a briefcase sometimes, and then it all started with Miz and all of that stuff, and you're not fit to be the Money in the Bank holder.
I hope you got a kickback off those lunchbox sales. Because they sell them on WWE Shop now.
They sell them. I didn't know they were selling them. I'm going to buy one.
Oh, they sell them. You're going to get one?
Yeah.
Oh, stocking stuffer for Sam. It wouldn't fit in the stocking. It looks like quite a substantial lunchbox, to be honest with you. Right. Law and Otis, that was the thing that happened. JBL making the match for Hell in a Cell. This is the thing. Money in the Bank to Hell in a Cell, that big gap there, he did absolutely nothing. And that is weird.
They sort of teased a little bit with Braun, didn't they, right after Money in the Bank? Like, there were a couple of times with Otis and Braun where it was like, ooh, he could do something, but nothing came of it. And, there's just that sparseness. But then it seems like this might have been the plan all along, in a way. It's strange.
It would be a shame if it was, because organically so. He's just a really likeable character, isn't he? And organically he became... Well, in my eyes, just looking at my Twitter feed and whatnot, he became one of the most popular superstars in WWE at the start of the year, and I thought Money in the Bank was sort of a reward for him getting over like he did.
Yeah, and he reminds me so much of like great Attitude Era characters, like the comedy style stuff, and like those gimmicks that just persist, like too cool. Like I think Otis, if it continues on, and he's allowed to keep making silly noises and all of the great stuff that we love, I think he'll persist like one of those gimmicks. But it was just odd in the way that they didn't really seem to have any idea with what to do with him after he won the case.
So Hell in a Cell obviously comes around where Tucker turns on him and costs him the Money in the Bank briefcase. The match was made by JBL, as I said earlier. He then lost to Rollins in the Survivor Series qualifier match. That's when he was approached by Chad Gable and the Alpha Academy was born. Then everything's been going south even further because he's been getting attacked by Jey Uso from behind when he's just about to have a match with King Corbin on SmackDown. I mean, aside from Jey and Roman, Otis and Mandy and Ziggler and Sonya at the start of the year is probably my favourite feud in WWE this year.
I think like it was always funny enough and shot well enough, and the the stakes of it were personal, and it made it quite engaging. But just stuff like, Ziggler sweeping in, it was all textbook stuff, but it was just great. I think everybody who was involved, but particularly Otis being the center of this, is what made it all work so much. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of, while it's petering out now, I think that I'd put him in lovely, 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 simply because he's been so entertaining.
I mean, we're looking at the people who are in the all right tier. I think he has had a more monumental year than the likes of Bianca Belair and Daniel Bryan and King Corbin, Apollo Crews, Cesaro, Rey, Leah and Buddy. I think Otis has been a step above them.
But I think
in 2020,
he's not quite the best because we didn't really get much out of that. Monumental briefcase. Sorry, I just knocked the microphone there. Briefcase win.
Yeah. Why do they stop momentum of people all the time?
I don't
just keep
know.
It going. Sam, the bell's just gone. I'm going to go and
answer the door. That's all right. No bother.
And now we have Chelsea Green, who of course started this year in Robert Stone's stable on NXT. That didn't really go too far. It went places, but not too far. She competed in the Women's Royal Rumble match, but did nothing. She lasted 12 seconds before she was eliminated, which was weird. For a sort of, but obviously the back catalogue of her work is there with the stuff in Impact Wrestling and stuff. We all know how great she is. But then to be given such a big platform like the Royal Rumble, thinking, wow, she's got Robert Stone, she's now appearing at the Royal Rumble, let's do some big things with Chelsea Green. 12 seconds.
Welcome to the big leagues, pal.
Defeated Shotzi Blackheart to qualify for a ladder match at TakeOver Tampa Bay. Remember that event was going to be a thing, but that of course didn't happen as a pay-per-view. It happened on NXT TV. The match was won, of course, by Io Shirai, and then she did nothing for absolutely ages for no reason whatsoever. She moaned about it on Twitter. It's been so many days since I had a match. It's been so many days since I had a match. She got a lovely dog called Dude, though. I follow Dude the Doodle on Instagram. If you don't follow Dude the Doodle on Instagram, follow him now. He's absolutely fantastic. Apparently there was plans earlier this year to get Chelsea Green up to Monday Night Raw when Paul Heyman was in his executive director's role, but they never came to fruition. So a SmackDown debut eventually happened on November the 13th in a fatal four-way match where, of course, she suffered the same injury to her arm that she suffered in her first ever NXT match. So we learned this year that Chelsea Green, the poor bastard, cannot catch a break.
It was awful because I think it was one of the first moments of the match. It's sort of like a quick brawl breaks out and she's thrown to the outside and then you don't see her again for the entire match. And it's just like, like again, it's going to be another one of those grades where, it's not their fault that they got injured, so they're placed, a little bit because they're out. But I think she did have a pretty good run up to that, and she was featured in a lot of spots up to that. So like I don't know.
I think the start of the year with Robert Stone is what's keeping her out the bin. And
that's
again,
what I mean.
It's not her fault. Why she wasn't booked for so long is anyone's guess. I hope someone eventually does tell us why that was the case, because it was baffling, because she is obviously very good at what she does. And then the injury happened, and it's heartbreaking to see, really, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just, hopefully she'll come back stronger than ever and we can just crack on, move forward and get her into the women's division in a good position.
I read some news recently, Sam, that apparently she shot a few backstage promos or vignettes with Mickie James earlier this year where she was playing Mickie James' stalker.
Okay.
It's all coming full circle, so maybe that's something that could be revisited.
That would be great.
Yeah, down the line, we'll have to see. Only time will tell with that one. That should be good SHIT.
That'd be class.
Robert Roode.
It's sort of similar to Ziggler. He's just, we know how good he is and we know what he's capable of, but he just languishes in feuds where, we need a very, very, very capable pair of hands who can, do exactly what we need to do. Robert Roode's a great wrestler. So he's capable of doing this stuff. He's got a very long career and he makes it look effortless, but unfortunately he suffers at the hands of quite meandering storylines that he's placed into.
Booking.
But he's never really the focus either. He's always the second guy, and he's always sort of the follower. And I don't know.
I can't believe we live in a world where somebody in a prominent position on the main roster's creative team have watched what he was doing at the start of his NXT run with the bringing in the corporate malarkey and all that stuff, and just reduced him down to a guy who says, I'm going to beat you, and that will be absolutely glorious. Every single week. I can't believe we found ourselves there. But obviously, he started the year alongside Dolph Ziggler, helping King Corbin in his battles against Roman Reigns. He was eliminated by Brock Lesnar very early in the Royal Rumble match. He competed in the Tag Team Chamber match, which of course was won by Miz and Morrison. Then he spent most of the year up in Canada because of COVID. Couldn't cross the border there. Yeah. Appeared on Raw for a little bit. He answered an open challenge by Drew McIntyre, which obviously didn't win because he didn't win the WWE title this year. And now he looks like he's going to be on for a SmackDown Tag Team title shot at least. in the Dirty Dogs with Dolph Ziggler. I hope that becomes an official tag team name. I know they're doing T-shirts on Twitter.
Yeah.
Just make it so, Vince McMahon, for goodness sake. Bearable?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's another case of like a Natalya or a Ziggler. As I said, like he's very, very, very good, but they don't have anything for him, and so what that means is he gets featured spots in matches, but he's never really the guy who they're trying to push.
No,
and he's just there to really fill it out and make sure the match has a very good quality to it. Which even then, sometimes because of who they're facing, it doesn't always work out.
He's moving up the table already. He's moving up the table already. He's moving up the table already, and he's in the best.
Where you put him?
Roman Reigns.
Oh, Roman Reigns. Oh, I thought you meant Robert Roode there. I was like, what's going on here?
No, he's firmly unbearable. It'll make sense when you see the picture of the tier. Roman Reigns started the year as the same kind of Roman Reigns we all knew.
Yeah.
At the start of the year, feuding with King Corbin, won that match at the Rumble, won that cage match, Super Showdown, last man out at the Rumble, obviously as well. The guy who McIntyre eliminated to win the Rumble match.
Yeah.
He challenged Goldberg to a match at WrestleMania before obviously taking the right decision for him and his family to pull out of wrestling altogether because of an underlying health condition. Go home, shield himself. No pun intended, from the coronavirus by staying indoors for a long time. Good on him for doing that, for having the balls to do that, because obviously it must apply to Roman as well, obviously thinking, if I pull myself out here, they're going to start, being petty with me and start, hampering my bookings and stuff going forward.
You never know, do you? So, but I mean, the guy he's turned it all around, hasn't he?
Yeah, he returned it all around. Returned at SummerSlam with new teeth and a badass attitude. And a new full beard as well, I guess we could throw in there as well. Aligned with Paul Heyman in a fantastic scene on the casting couch. Roman's there, and then when the camera sort of there's Paul. Fantastic scene.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've had all the stuff with Jey Uso that was spoke about at length already. The I Quit match. The other one at Clash of Champions where Jimmy threw in the towel. Ramifications for future generations of the Usos. The stuff, it's not what he's saying, Sam. It's the way he says it.
Yeah.
Again, we're sat here on December the 9th to the SmackDown before this one, whatever date that was, when he stood in the ring with Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens is going, come on, Roman, let's have a fight, pal. I'm Kevin Owens, I fight anybody. And he just goes, Kevin, I'm a gentleman. Kayla Braxton's here in the ring with me. She's done an interview. I'm a gentleman. Grow up, man. And he just walks away.
After he just ran Kayla down for being an embarrassment to her job. Like,
fantastic. I've got whoever's writing them is a bloody genius, because they do get better each and every week. This new, it's because obviously I should mention as well, when he shouts, it means so much more, because he rarely shouts, but when he does to Jey Uso, it's just like, wow, he's pissed off here. That must mean something big's gone down.
Yeah, he's very, very mellow, very, very quiet, and it's everything. But yeah, he's in the best.
Yeah, straight away. Sami Zayn, Intercontinental Champion, won the title initially in that 3-on-1 handicap match where Braun Strowman didn't have to accept, but he did, so Sami Zayn was smart like wrestler. And that ended, by the way, Sam, a 5-year title drought since he won the NXT title. And that is mad to think about. Then Sami was being weird because he wasn't wrestling like a wrestler. He was wrestling like a manager, even though he is arguably one of the best wrestlers in the world today.
Yes.
He ran away from Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania, but still won the match, of course. He was then stripped of the title after going home, being sensible in the midst of a global pandemic.
Yep.
Load of absolute bollocks, of course. But thankfully, they turned it into a storyline when he did come back. Obviously, Jeff Hardy was Intercontinental Champion at the time in August. Zayn returned, claiming to be the real Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah.
We had that fantastic, one of the match of the year contenders, the ladder match between Hardy and Zayn and Styles at Clash of Champions, where Zayn retained his title and became the bona fide Intercontinental Champion. And he defeated Apollo Crews.
Was that the handcuffs as well?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he became, he defeated Apollo Crews, and then we had the stuff with Lashley at Survivor Series, and now he's just sort of going along with the flow, looking for a proper feud, I guess, against somebody. Hopefully there'll be a challenger.
Yeah.
Reveal themselves not to.
It's been a pleasure, this entire run of Sami Zayn, I think. Like, the way he goes on, I don't think we've had a better chicken poo heel, to steal one of your, anti-swears. I don't think we've ever had somebody fill that role quite as well, over the last few years. And the fact he's still just trying to count out victories, and he's just running his mouth, and he thinks he's very important, and he's preaching about everything. When he came out and ran down Thanksgiving, it's just classic heel work. Yeah. But he seems to be having a whale of a time doing it, and it's infuriating to watch him just pick up like cheeky win after cheeky win after cheeky win, and he's doing it perfectly. And to be honest, I think if he's not in the bottom of the best, I'd stick him in lovely, lovely, lovely.
I think that's the call we've got to make, Sam. If you had to stick him in one of them, where would you put him? Does that break in the middle mean anything?
If anything, it helped progress him into more of a deranged state, because when he came back and he's like, no, I'm still champion, and from that point on, it was funny. That's just the difference maker for me, because obviously I was expecting them to just go, right, you've been stripped because you went home to try and save your own life and your family's life. And you're just too bloody nice in general. Stop giving money to charity.
I would expect them to have just forgotten about that reign, but the fact they then turned it into a storyline which it suited Sami Zayn's preaching nature down to, it was just fantastic that they did that, and I've gone for the best, Sam.
Yeah, he's got to go with the best.
Rollins.
It's been an odd ride, and we've recapped quite a lot of it.
Yeah, but the promo, I think this has been Seth Rollins' best work of his career, the entire Monday Night Messiah shtick. While we can laugh at the ping pong balls and the silliness of all the stipulations and all that, but the promos he's been cutting, while I guess you could say they're a bit repetitive, you can't say they're bad.
They bring it, though. Yeah, they bring it, and that's the thing. It's like you listen when he speaks. And it's always good, and it's always venomous, and it's always poisonous, and it's always framed in a way that he looks benevolent and that he thinks he's, some sort of genius. But he backs all that up with sterling in-ring prowess. You can't take anything away from the guy.
Yeah, but just in terms of stuff we haven't spoken about already, we have these bollocks at Survivor Series. I think that's the only stuff we haven't mentioned so far in this video. And him recruiting Austin Theory for a period of time on Monday Night Raw. That was a thing that happened. Didn't like the stuff at Survivor Series because surely the greater good was SmackDown winning that match, not him getting eliminated. But Rollins, lovely?
I'd say top of lovely. He's not quite... I think we're waiting for that next big step in the progression of this, and that should be coming next. We're just kind of floating around, but obviously him and Becky Lynch now have a child, so he could be away for a little bit of time, and we don't really know what's coming. But I think he's had a standout year, but I don't think the moments are quite there in the way that some of the best tier are.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And congrats to them too.
Yeah.
Becky and Sethy Poo on the baby on Baby Roo. Becky and Sethy Poo and Baby Roo. Oh no. Liv Morgan, Sam, who returned on New Year's Eve after all the promos about her finding herself and having a bath and stuff like that. Remember those ones?
Yes.
And it looked like she was in love and about to announce a relationship or an affair or something along those lines with Lana. Thankfully, that was scrapped because you could see that was going to be ugly from the get-go. And then she aligned with Rusev, but in a non-romantic way, to battle Bobby Lashley and Lana for a while. She defeated Lana twice on Monday Night Raw. She then entered a feud with Ruby Riott, and then she had the stuff with Natalya at WrestleMania, and then the partnership with Ruby Riott, and then that's where we find ourselves today, the stuff of the Iconics we've already spoken about. And I've got to mention the network documentary. I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen everybody online. Everybody is in unison by saying it just shows what a crappy life certain superstars have in terms of creative, just doing things on a whim and completely just disregarding any logic and just tearing up like the Riot Squad for no good reason whatsoever.
I'd seen people comparing it to like that the Total Divas moment where they're all at Mania in their gear and it's just revealed to them now you're not having a match and they're just broken. And I've seen a lot of people comparing it to that sort of feeling where you could have every idea in the world, but if they just don't see you doing it and they don't really want to do it, then you're out of luck. And it's a reality, I imagine, for most people on the roster, that at some point in your career you're gonna just keep getting shot down and shot down and shot down, and I don't know how they do it. It'd break me. But
Liv Morgan, the promos are awkward at times. I think they're a bit like I remember she was having one where she was speaking about, I think it was her mum, how her mum was a rock and she's definitely her mother's daughter and stuff like that, and she was getting emotional. I was like, where's this going? Like, what's the purpose of this promo? And it's a bit obviously she's drawn on stuff from her real life because they look like real tears, unless she's just an amazing actress, which she could be. But it's a bit like lost, a bit like no direction.
It felt kind of like they were like, right, is that your idea? Like, you've got a few ideas. Okay, go out there and try this one this week. Didn't like that. Try that one next week. Didn't like that. Try that one. And it just feels like we got like the first step, and then they were like, "Now get down, try again." Nah,
bearable.
I think bearable's fair. I wouldn't put her in the bin because she has been involved with some, central happenings. But
I was looking at her. I swear she's only 26 as well. It's just mad to think she's been around since about 2014. She's only 26.
She has a farm that I think she's now just got cows for.
Fantastic. Yeah, she's got chickens. Fantastic scenes. I'd love to go around to Liv Morgan's farm. But now we're going on to Paul Heyman, who started the year, of course, behind the scenes as executive director of Monday Night Raw. Reportedly big plans for the likes of Drew McIntyre, which came to fruition, Andrade, which didn't, Alastair Black, which didn't, and he left his position in June. And in that time, by the way, I've got to say, Raw did get better. Yeah,
it was sort of like, you could tell, it was similar to when, Pritchard came back to SmackDown. You could just tell that the storylines were being wove like in a certain way, and it was all a little bit tighter. But yeah, Heyman, he's a creative genius, isn't he? Like, he's just capable of so much. Yeah. But I mean, I'd still rather have him in front of the camera, doing what he's doing now. I think for sure.
Obviously, at the start of the year, he was still aligned with Brock Lesnar, and it was pretty much the same old stuff with him and Brock, and in the feud with Drew McIntyre and stuff like that. But it was now he's with Roman. He's shown a different side to him, where he's obviously. Kevin Owens said in that Talking Smack promo, "Paul, you're just in it for yourself." And Paul was like, "No, I'm not this, that, and the other." But quite clearly he is. Yeah. And you can see the way he looks at Roman, how he's just like, he adores Roman so overtly that he's just playing up to Roman, and he's just using Roman to get somewhere, and eventually it'll get revealed.
But he knows he's doing it. Like, so he's acting all pathetic and mewling, and he's like, like, "Oh, Roman," and he's always going to bat for him. The one thing that I absolutely despise about current Paul Heyman is that one word when he goes, "reigns in." I hate it.
Tries a bit too hard, doesn't it?
But I mean, come on. It's been non-stop since he's come back. Like, the reveal of him, everything, it's been great.
Yeah, he never did he always used to like look as scared with Brock?
No, this is the thing. Like, he was always quite cocky with Brock. But
there's Brock doing Brock things.
But Roman, he's kind of in awe of him, or he's terrified of him. As if Roman's
that makes a massive difference.
Gonna hurt him.
Sam, move your head, Sam. You can do it, Sam. Go on, Sam. Please move your head. We've come so far. Sam. I'm ducking and diving here. Please move your head. I'm not gonna have to export this call. No, I'm not. Come on, Sam, you can do it. You can do it, Sam. I believe in you. Come on, Sam. Everybody at home start clapping. Maybe if your energy transmitted its way through your screen, Sam will start moving again. I've got no idea if Sam can hear me. I can't hear him at all. I'm going to have to pick up the phone here and give Sam a little message. Look, everybody, it worked. All the claps, it brought Sam back from the dead. What the hell were we speaking about? Paul Heyman. It's the way he looks scared at Roman Reigns that makes the difference there, Sam. So where are we going for Paul Heyman? Has he done enough this year to deserve lovely, lovely, lovely?
I believe he has.
I'll put him in there, because why the hell not?
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Ew. Best wrestler in the world at one point, and now
he's not.
He just meanders around in a tag team. No, in fairness, like, he can be called upon again to bring on, great performances in matches, but it's time for him and Cesaro to be, separated now. Surely we've got to do something with him that's not just tag work or secondary title. Something. The damage is done, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I don't think... Of course he could, but, like, what are you going to do to Shinsuke Nakamura to get him back to a main event level?
Yeah. Short of sending him back to New Japan and bringing him back all over again.
Yeah, I think it's time at the top, being and gone with the stuff with Styles and... Oh, God, it seems such a long time ago. But we've spoken about everything to do with Nakamura so far while speaking about Cesaro. So I guess where Cesaro is in the table, where the hell is he, everybody? I've lost him completely here.
Is he in all right or is he in bearable?
There he is. He's in all right.
I think Nakamura's maybe a step down, yeah.
I think Cesaro's done better wrestles this year than Shinsuke Nakamura. So there we have it. He's in just about bearable, just above the bin.
Oh,
Forgotten Sons, Sam.
Hurts. Forgotten Sons.
We start the year in the Dusty Tag Team Classic down in NXT where they were knocked out in the first round by Imperium. I think that's how they say it. Then they lost to the Grizzled Young Veterans in their second televised match. And that was it, Sam. They got promoted to SmackDown and they cut some promos backstage about things. And then they did a Money in the Bank Fatal 4-Way match with the New Day, the Lucha House Party, Miz and Morrison, which was won by New Day.
And then it all goes kaput. Is that...
I was making things awkward with you. Yes, there was.
I didn't know what was happening. I was like, is my connection gone?
I was trying to remember in my head if that was right. What I've just said there. The last match I think was at Money in the Bank before we had Cutler and Blake brought back with King Corbin, and now Jackson Riker. I think is where sat here. It was this week's main event tape in the week of the December the 9th. That week's main event tape, and he was with Elias, is looking like a roadie, I guess.
Yeah, the thing I've always said about the Suns is I don't think they did enough to capitalise on what could have been an interesting gimmick simply because, you know, they seem... the thing is as well, it's too near the knuckle in modern American society to do anything about a militia type group, but they seem to look like a bit of a militia group or like a doomsday-y, you know, like sort of, you know, lookout and survivalist type people. You could have maybe gone that route with it. They look, you know, paranoid of like, you know, government and all of that stuff. That long hair, beards in camo, and they just never did. And it you know, petered out quite quickly with everything that happened once they got to the main roster. And now they are back on TV, back to square one. And, you know, with Cutler and Blake there with Corbin, so at least they're going to be featured, hopefully, quite regularly. Riker, time will tell.
I've put them in the bin. They did nothing in NXT and they did nothing on the main roster before it all went kaput. So in the bin they go, and then we finish things off, Sam, with Sasha Banks, who goes in the best straight away.
I don't think you can argue that at all.
No,
she's had a hell of a year, and we all know what character arc.
The one thing I picked up on is that she missed the Rumble through injury. I completely forgot that happened.
When was that? Like what injury was
January. That's when the Rumble
I know the one that I meant. Like, what was the injury? Was it like?
I've got no idea. It was an injury. Whether it was kayfabe or real, I'm not too sure. But we've been through it all, the trials and tribulations with Bayley winning the tag team, where it looked like the tag team titles, when it looked like they were splitting up, and then eventually everyone thinking it was going to be Sasha turning on Bayley, but no, it was Bayley turning on Sasha. And now we have the Carmella feud heading into TLC and 2021, but Sasha is in the best. But there we have it. Before we get to the best of the best, Sam, which we always do on these tier ranking things to find out who is the best member of the SmackDown roster, I'm going to put it to you, do any of the lovely deserve to go up into the best tier? Rollins?
Nah.
Profits?
Oh, nah.
Big E?
Oh.
I don't think he does.
Nah, he's a strong contender, but I don't think we've had anything substantial enough for it to be.
Ziggler, I think, is fine and lovely.
Yeah.
Dom?
Yeah, he's fine there.
KO?
Fine there.
Otis?
Fine there, if not a little high.
Heyman's fine there as well.
Yeah.
So now we find out who is the best of the best. Has Jey Uso had a better 2020 than Bayley?
Yes.
Woof. Has Roman Reigns had a better 2020 than Jey Uso?
Oh, you could argue no, because Jey Uso's gone from almost not obscurity, but he's gone from much lower down the card. But of course, Roman has had a better year, yes.
Has Samuel James Cuthbert Zayn had a better year than Roman Reigns?
Nope.
And finally, has Sasha Banks had a better year than Roman Reigns?
Oh.
That is a juicy one.
I don't know.
And I'm going to put it to you. Has Bayley had a better year than Roman Reigns?
Oh. I'd say We could go Sasha, Roman, Ty, Bayley second.
He's gone Sasha, Roman, Ty, and then Bayley in there second. So there we have our tier ranking for the 2020/2021 WWE SmackDown roster. Let us know how wrong we are in the comments down below.
Very wrong. You're so wrong, Ross.
We can see we have Rey Mysterio above Alastair Black in this tier, but context is key.
Yeah, we tried. We tried. So please listen.
We justified it as good as we could, but we know we're going to get endless comments about that thing right there. But that is it for this video. Obviously, check out the Raw video that is live already on the channel with Mr. Adam Pachete as we went through the Raw roster, the NXT and AEW tiers. Sorry, that's a different series altogether. The tiers, they are coming. AEW will be done with one Jack the Jobber, NXT with the illustrious Tom Campbell, and then we'll find out who has got the best roster. Off the top of my head, I think SmackDown's got a more full best tier than Raw. So as things stand, SmackDown have the better roster.
But SmackDown's got less time, so it means more good stuff, less filler.
Interesting point, well made there, Sam.
Yeah.
You've ruined it. But there we have. I was trying to make this scientific, but you've ruined it there with subjectivity and lengths and
with science.
Yeah. But that's it. I've been Gary YouTube from Cultaholic Wrestling, joined by another Gary YouTube. Any closing thoughts, Gary?
No, it's been really fun, this. I quite liked having a big old natter with you. Sorry that it went over 2 hours, everybody.
People like on the podcast, and it's Christmas. Happy Christmas,
happy
everybody.
Christmas.
And a Merry New Year and all that stuff. Wave to the camera, Gary. We'll see you next time on this tier ranking malarkey thing where I think it'll be AEW. But it could also be NXT. I'm not too sure what the schedule is.
I can't remember.
Neither can I. We're so prepared here at Cultaholic. See you later.
Tatty bye.